Testing 1, 2, 3. I mean,
all right, I'm trying to get my co-host.
Is that your co-host to your Matrix show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you notice, I'm not talking on my headset. I'm talking on the show mic.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like all set up and shit as if I'm going to run a show here.
I hope you don't mind me doing these memes. I was just going through some of the memes.
Oh my god.
I got some really offensive ones too, but in a good way.
I'm trying to add. Create an instant invite. Hang on a second.
No, well, the thing is with the Muslim virgins in heaven. So, according to Muhammad, most women go to hell. Only a few more women go to heaven, right? Mm-hmm. And all these men who are getting 72 virgins, where are these virgins coming from?
Where were they coming from?
Yeah, they're other men.
Oh, I
they're other suicide bombers.
Oh shit. Oh my god. Yeah, it's like, see, I'm completely down for having conversations and shit with Jay and Sarah and everybody else, but whenever we start picking your brain about like heavily involved
Jay will start trolling and shit.
Bro, I'm going, oh my god.
Yeah, look, when you raged at what Jay was doing stupid shit while we were trying to have a serious conversation, because I was speaking at the time when he was doing it, I didn't notice until I actually played it back how much that shit he was doing. I only noticed some of it because I was speaking. I didn't hear all of it over my own voice while I was speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But when I played through it, I was like, oh, holy shit.
Right.
Like he's talking, I don't want to even mention what he was doing.
Bro, I won't often rage quit, bro, but I couldn't understand what you were saying, and that shit whenever you were trying to speak, and you were speaking and then, talking deep stuff. You hear this, it's like, oh, look at the size of her tits type. I'm going, come on, man, really? I'm not going to entertain that shit.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay if you joke in the right way at the right time or something, but you don't do that. That's like, there is a place and a time for doing the right humor. That's just not. That's totally inappropriate what he was doing. Hey, Dragon.
Oh, okay, Steven, can you guys? Yeah. There you are, bro. Meet Jeremy. Jeremy. Terry.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, I'm Taryn. That's my username.
Hello, Taryn.
I wanted to introduce you to again. I told that Stephen a little bit about you, Jeremy, but I've not really given him the lowdown, the complete scoop of who you are, what you are, why you are, and everything. I mean, it's hard for him to see. Okay, so because his eyesight's all fucked up.
Okay, but so I just sent an image. It might be a good introduction.
Oh, okay. You know what? I've told him about that already. Stephen knows about the implants.
Okay.
I think I shared that with you, right, Steve?
You didn't tell me what it was. No.
Okay. I didn't go into detail.
No.
One thing I did want to share though is Jeremy has got more than detail in his story, his mainline story, right? And he's also then shared with me after the fact, asshole, that there is a walkthrough of what I read. So what I spent hours reading, I could have just sat back and listened to him speak it.
Yes, but it was worth. It's way better. I don't want people. I only did the narrative version of me speaking it through because I was asked to do it. And even in that, I say, look, I'd rather you watch the original version with the music and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's way better to watch the full original version.
But it's definitely detailed. But the thing is, he can't. Steve, due to surgery, his early back surgery, he fucked up his sight. So him reading it, the reading it like a commentary, dude, it's gonna be really, really hard for him to read the storyline.
Well, that was one other reason why. Like, I didn't simply just do the narrated version simply because I was asked to. I also did it because just in case the odd person here and there who might have some difficulty reading or something. So I did it for audio as well.
Jeremy,
Oh, okay. On the same video?
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same video.
Because I started watching those.
So what I did.
So
what I did is I basically, my 11-hour meal list, the majority part of it, that's not spoken. A lot of it's written in text, scrolling text and stuff like that. So what it is, I just went through the video and I'm speaking what the text is saying. So I narrated.
Oh, okay.
So that you don't have to read it.
Right.
So you can just listen to me speaking out the whole movie.
I'm trying to get to it, Jeremy, to actually.
I'll get the link if you want.
I'll find it. I got it.
There's a playlist of it, yeah, with the two.
But in the meantime, Jeremy, would you at least explain to him who you are, please? Will you do that for me?
Sure. Let's just. I am the founder of Anonymous.
Claim to be. How's that?
I'm the founder of Anonymous, and I am also the man of prophecy.
Ah, well, that'll work.
And there's a very deep rabbit hole to both those claims. And I don't make claims without substantial evidence and stuff, so it's a long story.
More than likely a very deep rabbit hole.
Yeah. We wouldn't be here today if I was just another, empty talker.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's a total of
66, I think.
Yeah, 66 videos in the playlist, his story, right? But yeah. Dude, he's got more. I mean, I'm like at almost 14 hours of studying who what all he's got documented. So it's got more. His story goes more than just his story of who he is, what he is.
I got tons and tons and tons of shit. I got 6 months of shit for people to process.
Alien drawing. I'm just going over some of these things. Alien drawings, more evidence of my story. Founder of Anonymous Proof. Religion of terrorism. Oh my God! It just goes on and on and on. So again, I shared with you, Steve, that he is to me. I understand that Jeremy is a high priority government target because he's been there.
Yeah. I've been kidnapped, imprisoned, and tortured for a year and all kinds of shit.
So we need to keep him talking to keep him safe.
Technically, right now, there are some loose legal orders that have been placed on me, bizarre ones that I have no concern over being entrapped with. However, so I'm not under any threat of them. However, I am unofficially a fugitive, and the government is after me. And if they catch me, you will never see me again. But they are also scared shitless because I document and I live stream all the shit that they do, all their attempts to try and do me in. That's why they're trying to covertly do me. So what happens? They usually, if they try to raid me, they'll call my phone and do it like a test, a specific test message right before they raid me, and they'll shut my internet down. And then they'll try and raid me so that I can't live stream it. This is the kind of shit I have to deal with on a regular basis. I've got a ton of documents and shit that Matt, I gave that big download that included my movie, and it also included documents of all the shit that the government did to me. I think you downloaded that?
It's 11.
Yeah, 11 gigabyte download.
Yeah, I've downloaded it. I've got it.
So that's just like a first pass run through. That's like 1/50th of all the evidence compilation I've got.
But again, I haven't opened it yet. I've got it. Okay. I've got it on my drive in my downloaders folder. But
whenever you're ready, you can look at it.
It
includes the whole movie and the whole music playlist as well.
Sweet. I'm trying to find
the download
the audio version of that video.
Well, it's in the download.
Steven. Bro, I'm looking at it. I'm looking for it.
You have to unzip it if you haven't unzipped it yet. So let's
go.
No. It's in the music folder.
I'm saying your YouTube playlist.
I haven't got a music playlist of that. It's actually in the download that you've already got. All the songs are in a music folder. In the download that you downloaded, that big 11 gigabyte download, it's in there.
But I also seen it on here, dude.
I don't think I've got a music playlist of it.
Nope. I'm talking you had a version that was walk through your audible version.
Yeah, okay. You're talking about the narration, right?
Yes. That's
Something completely different than what we're just talking. Okay, so, I'll get it right now. Just give me a sec. I'll take a sec. It's in an actual playlist, so I can just do the actual playlist because it's got the story narrated version. Here we go.
You can't read it.
No, you don't need to read this. It says it's narrated version, so never see the dissenting stuff again. Okay, so just give me a sec. Okay, so this link here is the narrated, the first major part of my story, of the first 55 videos before the interview.
There you go, Stephen.
So
whenever you get a chance, bro, you gotta listen to that, and that'll bring you up to speed of who he is.
That's not the whole thing, though. That's just the first 55 videos. So there's much bigger things to come after that, but that's the first 55 narration videos.
Stephen's awful quiet.
Okay.
So there's a lot more after that. That's not the whole 11-hour story. That's like 4 hours worth of the 11-hour story. So, but that tells a lot of the anonymous stuff before the really big stuff.
Okay.
So if you end up watching probably maybe let us know after that. And
guys,
yeah.
I'm gonna jump off here for a second. I will be back. I'm trying to walk through this thing with Sarah, trying to get her to understand how to set up and run OBS.
Yeah.
Steve, are you comfortable talking to Jeremy?
Yeah, I really don't know what else to I mean, I'll talk to Jeremy. I don't mind. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, this is who I wanted to bring on to the Matrix, dude, because there's it seems to be, I've noted that even if he doesn't know something, or like right off the bat for a second, he'll pause. The moment he pauses, it's almost as if some frickin' place he gathers the information, or it's given to him, and he just verbosely comes off with it. And I don't know how he does it, but I'm going to tell you, I believe it to be part of this implant. I'm just saying, I know I might sound crazy, but
I'd like to say something on that. I'd like to say something I haven't talked to you about yet regarding my implants, just really quickly, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So I said that just in my brain, it's not, I've got other ones, but I've got just in my brain, there's the one that we talk in question, but I have two others on each ventricle and each side, right? So these are actually bigger than the other one, but in the scans that if you want, I'll send you. They don't show the whole construct of it. So the solid pieces come out in the CT scan, and you can see some shape of other stuff as well. They're actually quite big. In the MRIs, they actually come out as very solid triangle-shaped objects, but you can't actually see the.
Who put these implants? Who put those implants in?
You'd have to. We actually talked about this yesterday and today. You should probably go through that to listen into that to explain the long story to it, but. So these two ones on the sides of my head and the back, attached to my ventricles, these are actually attached to places that are related to the communication of your brain, how parts of your brain communicate with each other in the ventricles. So what this means in computer terms, this is like an enhancement for the bus speed of your motherboard.
Ooh, wow.
So it's actually allowing my brain to communicate with itself a lot better, or in some way.
Wow.
So that's the ones that are on the side and the back. So we only ever talked about the central one. But that's the other ones.
Well, I can... Steven's really, really, really smart when it comes to this shit. So let me just point this out real quick, okay? Yeah. Steven, are you ready for this? There's an implant around the top half of where the pineal gland would be located, in between the left and the right hemisphere of his brain.
Isn't the pineal gland up further? This is in the dead center of the brain.
near the pineal gland, huh?
This is the basal ganglia. The dead center of the brain.
It's deep within the brain. Now that could only have happened how?
How do you get a penny in an apple?
Either an alien or a very talented doctor, surgeon.
How do you get a penny inside an apple without breaking the skin?
Oh, you like that analogy, don't you?
Well, without okay, well then that'd have to be otherworldly then to me.
Would it not have to be there from the beginning stages of growth of the apple core, as well as the apple peel?
No.
Without piercing the apple peel, that apple peel, you could not get that penny in the apple.
So it had to be there.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's as far as our technology goes.
Yeah, it is possible that there was some other way that it was added, but all the signs don't point to that. They point to the fact that it was there from the start.
Oh, there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's amazing. Oh man, I bet that gives you some major insight into things, doesn't it?
That's kind of why I'm saying that no matter what the hell I fire at him, and I'm pretty well versed in a lot of different subjects. He has got the follow up with every single thing I hit him with.
Yeah, and that includes things that might challenge someone's beliefs and may actually offend and upset them. But if you don't get too angry and shut yourself off, and you look into the things that I say, you realize that that there's actually depth to what I'm saying. And
I'm pretty open to a lot of things. So yeah, I don't just discount something just because I don't believe in it.
The main reason why I say that is because I go against most narratives. I have a very different story to most other, not everything, but most narratives are completely incompatible with my narrative.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I have something's not really going to offend me unless.
Trust me, eventually somewhere along the line, you probably will get offended somewhere.
Well, there's no telling,
Yeah.
But for the most part, I like hearing different things and new things, and and of course I weigh those against things that I grew up with and whatnot. But it's just like religion. I'm not into it anymore.
You know what I can do?
And haven't been for some time.
I've got. I haven't finished it. Sorry, damn. I was doing something. I haven't finished it. I've actually got things written down. There's one thing I need to finish though, to finish the whole compilation. That you could actually use if you can't read. You could actually use a narrator to read an actual text of a page of things that are in my videos, so you can read it out with a narrator if you can't read the text.
Yeah. Well, see, Jeremy, I can see out of one eye, but like right now, I have a cataract in that eye, and it's causing me some issues. But for the most part, I can see. It's just some days that it gets blurry on me.
Yeah. I think what Matt was
I'm 65 years old.
I think what Matt was trying to get at before is like this 11-hour video, most of it is like reading, scrolling text and stuff like that. Right. So even for him, it really, it can be exhausting with reading like that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I would have to take, a break in between, just to,
you probably have to take
be able to focus that eye. Yeah.
It's a big marathon to do.
I hear you.
So Matt, you know how to use.
You know how to. Are you from Australia or
I'm from Australia. Yeah. Matt, with Sarah with OBS? You know how to use OBS, don't you? You know how to set up the initials. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I was going to walk her through it whenever she gets back.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass when the first setup, but once you do that, it's all fine.
Yeah, it has its hiccups. I mean, me and Steven, when we started Facebook, me and him both can't really have an account longer than what, 6 months.
Not very long. They don't like us very well.
Yeah. Jeremy, I don't know if you've noticed, but I mean, I do a lot of, as well as Steven does a lot of research on the world today as we know it. The chemtrails and the Monsanto genetically modified products. Like
yes, that really pisses me off. My position on evolution is like the focus of everything I do. What they're doing, the plant crops, evolutionary and shit, really pisses me off.
Oh yeah, bro.
Because I see a bigger picture here, and the damage they're doing is irreversible and extreme long term. The evolutionary damage they're doing.
Listen, Vasco. Listen. What do you know about the Monsanto project as far as back in the day, back then and to now, Jay?
That's a pretty vague question, but the point you reference I'm talking about is the fact that they are genetically modifying crops. They're fucking up evolution in a really messed up way, and with no care for the consequences. That I understand the consequences, they don't, and the global planetary consequences of that long term.
They're fucking up with the system. They're fucking up.
They're going to screw up. Before long, we won't.
No, that's what I mean. It's what pisses me off. It is already gone past the point of no return. The damage they have done is irreversible.
Yeah.
And they're just adding more and more irreversible damage on top of what they've already done, just in the name of greed and profit.
Evolution, though. Whose evolution? Our evolution?
No, the evolution of plants. This doesn't just affect plants. This affects a whole ecosystem.
Okay.
This has cascade consequences long term.
Yeah, to the animals, bees, everything.
Now, see,
there is a cascade problem here.
See that? They don't see that, though, Jeremy.
No, they do. They do see that. They just don't care.
Right. Exactly. They
know exactly what they're doing. They just don't care. They would destroy the future of the world to rule over this world for their lifetime. They would sell the entire future of the world after they die and take the world down with them, just so they can rule over the world in their lifetime. Because they're, as I said before, they're of the position of if we can't rule the world, no one can.
What do they think they're going to eat?
They don't care beyond their own lifetime.
Yeah, it just.
Hello.
It's just it's just like they're killing off all the bees.
Oh, yeah, that's not what it seems to be. The thing about bees, there's only one species of bee out of many, 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 and this is like a foreign species that was used in the name of money making. So, and it wasn't a native bee. So this is only one species of bee. Over the rest of the bees, they're fine. But the fact is, what's happening to those bees? It's not fully sure what's causing this mass die off. So it's like it's a warning sign that could be a potential problem. You don't know. But the rest of the bee populations are not affected.
It's the same with the frogs as well.
Sorry?
Frogs. Frogs are a part of the ecosystem as well, and they are dying off as well. And something else, flies. There are farmers are noticing that flies are disappearing. That flies are not showing up like they should.
Well, changes happen all the time, like this with populations of animals and stuff. It's not necessarily out of the ordinary, but some things are out of the ordinary. And when it comes to things like what Monsanto is doing to the evolution of plants, has massive consequences. They know the consequences. They don't give a shit. But the rest of the mankind population have no clue how serious that is.
No, they just go on you know,
like I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. Let's just say mankind. You tinker with mankind's DNA, and then you insert people who have tinkered DNA into the general population. That manipulated DNA infects a gene pool, and the manipulated DNA it grows throughout a whole gene pool. Well, let's say that modified DNA, you don't see the consequences of it right away. After it's infected and taken over the whole gene pool, 10 generations later, it ends up that everyone starts going sterile. And as a consequence of this is why evolution is slow in small fragments. It has to test ideas, because when it goes wrong, everything dies. It's very fragile. So if you make a big step in modified evolution, you haven't just corrupted the very evolutionary process and destroyed a species permanently. The very existence of what is left, it often things like going sterile several generations down the track, it leads on a downward path that you don't see right away. So if you do that to the mankind, and let's say that has recently been done to a human gene pool, you are putting a whole gene pool. You're playing Russian roulette. At the best of times, you're playing Russian roulette. At the best of times. So if you do that to a part of the ecosystem, if it dies or something else happens, if it causes problems of other things that rely on this part of the ecosystem, part of the food chain and stuff like that, the wrong thing goes down. The wrong brick of a building. You pull the wrong brick out of a building, the whole tower comes down.
Right. I understand that.
And when it comes to meddling with large plant populations, you're tinkering with the very you're pulling out foundational bricks of the building. The very bricks you don't want to be messing with, things that everything relies on.
No, I haven't liked the fact that they've been messing with the seeds and everything else,
Yeah, see, they haven't just introduced different seeds in populations. They have deliberately and completely wiped out entire populations of evolution, and in order to gain a monopoly so that no one else can grow any variants of it.
Right. Exactly. I think if everybody woke up to that fact, would be.
If everyone woke up to that fact and acted on it, everyone in one day would go and find every single person who works for Monsanto and execute them then and there. Every single one. And every single politician in government who ever protected them, execute every single one. Hunt down every single one involved. That's what educated people would do. They are a threat to all life on this world, past, present, and future.
So the consciousness of the bee, right, Jeremy?
The
evolution of the bee that we're talking about.
Yeah.
What does that do? What does that do as a whole?
Well, it is an integral part of not. There is if you completely get rid of bees, they all die out, right? There's still life will survive, but a very large section of the ecosystem will have a cascade collapse. But not everything. Some things will survive, but there will be a massive collapse in a lot of evolutions. A big chunk of the tree of evolution will die off as a result. That rely on it.
During your visits here, right? How many times have you seen something like that? Because that's pretty fucking bad, dude.
When I came back and forth.
That's right. Okay. Steven has no clue what the fuck I'm talking about.
So we're talking about between 13,000 years and 6,000 years ago, right?
Yeah. I'm giving some parts of the story away here, but.
Yeah. Do what, Matt? Say that again, Matt?
I'm giving parts of the story away.
I'm just giving an intro. Let's just say a long time ago, there are things that happened a long time ago, of entering and exiting a certain place. So what was seen was basically the rise and fall of civilizations and the cause of it, and a certain intervening problem behind it. And then a massive intervention was happened to resolve it. So as for the ecosystem, now the ecosystem during the later stages, things were getting messed up in the later stages, and it wasn't just what was happening to mankind, it was also happening to the planet in general. The whole ecosystem was getting fucked up by it. Right. So this is one of the reasons why there's the big massive scar on the planet happened. And some degree of fixing the ecosystem happened. I don't know what degree, but obviously they didn't do a very good job of it, because there's a lot of destruction that never healed. There's a big giant scar on this world that never healed. Right. They seem to have been thorough about destroying it, but they weren't very thorough about replanting it.
Of course not. Yeah, they want to kill off as many people as they can anyway.
What we're talking about is a massive intervention that happened on this world about 6,000 years ago. So you look at North Africa, Middle East, all as far east as Mongolia, there's this giant streak of death. And this is all known, that it all happened instantly, all at the same time, just as if like a nuclear bomb or something just went off and killed everything. A massive section of the world.
Ah.
And if you look at North Africa and Central Africa, there's a clear line that happens. And this isn't a natural thing, and this has been a big mystery to a lot of scientists and stuff. They don't understand. They know that this doesn't add up. There's something weird going on here, and there's very weak theories on it that no one really takes any confidence in. But they don't have an explanation apart from something really messed up happened about 6,000 years ago that caused this massive destruction of life, and they don't know what caused that. Let's just say I do.
Okay.
My story explains what happened.
I'm sharing in the main chat, right? Some things in which I've done a lot of research on, but yet don't know a lot about that.
Can I do an alien picture?
Well, that's the thing. It's an alien picture, yes, but that's not really supposedly an alien picture. It shows and depicts. I'll also give you the picture, the cave painting of many hands, and I'll need to find that one real quick. Right here. What is it? The cave painting of many hands.
I think I know what you mean.
I'll show you. Because they were supposed to. Damon T. Berry is the one that come up with. They're showing you signs in the caves of those in which knew from above. In other words, these cave paintings aren't just cave paintings. They are, let's just say...
astrological.
Right. They're old images or photographs and they depict...
constellations.
Yeah, constellations and again, like the bottom image, Jeremy. Yeah. Look at that one.
The bottom one looking at it now.
She's a hottie, bro. Oh god, yeah, it's a hottie. Grab her by the hair.
She's very human-like. Just her eyes are very different, but the rest of her face was different, and her whole personality was very human-like. She was very feminine.
She looks very feminine. Just scares the Medusa out of me.
That's not the best drawing, but it's the best I could do.
Let's see. Oh my god. See, Dragonfire loves to talk about extraterrestrial life and the Greys, but Jeremy knows the Greys at some sort known as drones.
Yeah, I can actually quote, I can read something that I actually wrote recently about that, if you want.
Recently?
Yeah, for an extraterrestrial group, just to anyone who wanted to do research on it. Let me find it. Where is it? It'll take me a sec off which folder it's in.
As I'm saying, Stephen, no matter what I hit him with, it's like boom, 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 boom.
I just have to find
he's got the information like right at the tip of his tongue. It's crazy.
See, I could say this anyway, but I'd rather read out what I wrote because it's a better be written, it'd be explained a bit better because I put more thought into writing it, more time into it instead of winging it. So if I'm going to do a search. I know the name of the file. There we go. Found a copy of it. I don't know where it is, but I found it in search. Okay, so would you like me to read what I wrote about Greys in this?
Yes, please.
So this isn't the whole story. This isn't the whole story of Greys as it relates to my story, but this is an explanation of an abbreviated introduction to the Greys.
So, the name given to them in the universal language was a description of their pale, frail bodies. Greys are very competitive with other greys. They are not a species but a classification, a scale of common evolution with a variety of differences. They come in all sizes, from 1 foot tall to 7+ foot tall. The taller the grey species, the higher they ranked in a hierarchy among other greys, and the more aggressive they are. They are notoriously shady and exploitative in trade, breaking and changing contracts the moment it becomes an inconvenience. They are Jew-like. Give them an inch and they will take a mile when it comes to things like trade. But not all of them are like that, especially the smallest types. And they do not like being thought of as being like the other greys, their stereotype. They hate them with a passion and make sure to let you know about it. Greys have an unusual evolution that sometimes happens among the stereotypical type, a third non-functional sex. It doesn't reproduce, but serves some kind of purpose in bringing the other two together. It is seen as something shameful, the result of long-term perversion, and what could happen if mankind continued pushing the LGBT ideology for a long time. But as I understand it, the nature of their genetics in evolution, this is something that happens in a certain kind of evolution. So it's less likely, if not impossible, to happen in other types, like a humanoid kind of type. It's something to do with the grey type of evolution, something to do with that. I'm not sure the details of it. So greys, where we go, let's get to where I are to. The reason why grey types look the way they do is because they live in a low light environment with no predators, and the only competition is with each other as they fight over limited resources. Their heads are bigger due to a need to compete and outwit each other, which is why they tend to have an exploitative, shady and conservational disposition and a bad reputation. If you ever met one, do not judge them even if they are of the behavioural stereotype. Despite their frail bodies, they are very aggressive and confrontational and easy to offend. They are naturally hyper-vigilant, like a dog that barks at everything, so it's not a good idea to set them off. Nothing like the stories you would have heard about them, of their mindless, calm, blah blah blah. Nothing like that.
You're talking about the Greys?
The Greys, yes. So all these stories about Greys being calm and like almost like sterile. Nothing like that. They're very hypervigilant and aggressive. That's why that's the reason, that's their disposition. That's why they got such big heads. It's got to do with their evolution. There is a large region of space dominated by half a dozen grey species. It was considered anomalous that so many grey species all evolved independently of each other around the same area. The area they controlled included a couple of other species as well, but they weren't part of the Grey Alliance. The Grey Alliance were largely separatists and didn't want any contact with anyone else outside of trade. That trade was important to them. That's very important to them.
Okay.
But, because they're like they trade is just how they
socially operate. They are very territorial, but as I understand it, their bitterness towards others has at least something to do with the past and the bad reputation they earned. You will have heard stories about grey drones. Those stories are partially true and mostly false. A long time ago, the tall grey species from the Grey Alliance made biological automaton copies of themselves as slaves. They didn't have a conscious brain. They were born without one and given very simple AI as a brain. They are very clumsy, make mistakes, and constantly need to be supervised. They were typically, but not always, like chubby child versions of themselves. They started using them as sex slaves and for other degenerate purposes, and others started doing it as well until the governing authority threatened to boycott if they didn't stop. Since trade was everything to greys, they abandoned them and expected them to eventually just die. a long time passed and the drones reappeared. And to cut a long story short, there is a massive problem of them being a plague, and no one knows who is giving them instructions to multiply and do all the bizarre things they are doing.
Oh,
so that's just the grey types. I've got other types if you want me to talk about just some abbreviations of different types.
Yeah.
But that's the main type.
Isn't there a group known as the Whites?
White. Okay. What people call the tall whites. In my narrative of story, they wouldn't be classified as greys. They'd be too different. They would be classified under a different type. So they wouldn't be classified as any kind of grey type. But such, there were aliens like that kind of type, sure. But there was there was many different types. I dealt with a mobile fortress where I was introduced to given a tutorial of all different species, tons of. So I was given classifications of different ranges of species. So us being humans, there will be like a humanoid kind of type, those with hair and small heads. What happens is different kind of evolutions are common. So you get a lot of species that are like similar. They seem to fit. They generally fit, not always, but they generally fit certain types of evolutions that are similar. So. The greys would be what you call greys would be one type of those evolutions. So these so-called tall whites, I wouldn't say that I ever saw a species that looked just like them, because there's all different versions of drawings of them. So but a lot of these drawings of different tall whites, there's all kinds of very different groups. So some of these you might say that I would seen types that are like them, but they would fit under completely different classifications. They would not be what we would call greys.
All right.
Now, there is one interesting thing. So that there are those that call them the Nordic type, right? There would be a classification that they would fit as like a Nordic type. So they would be more humanoid, and they would be thin, and they'd be down on the tall side, and they'd have certain traits that would put them into the classification, such as they wouldn't, they would actually have some kind of ears for a start, and they wouldn't have the bug eyes. These ones don't have the bug eyes. If they had the bug eyes, then that would be they'd be in a different environment and different evolution, where they'd be under different evolutionary pressures when it comes to predators. So these so-called tall white kind of types, then maybe you would say that they would have some kind of predators, whereas the greys didn't. And so that behaviourally and physically, they would be very different. So they would not be anything like a grey, even though people on this world would try and list them as grey. They're not.
Well, I had seen something about the whites a while back, and was wondering because they're supposed to be very aggressive as well, and they don't want you touching them at all.
Yeah, I'd like to say something on that. So, of this type that people are calling tall whites, well, as I said before, with the greys, people think the greys are all calm and all that. Whereas no, in my experience, they're really aggressive, and despite their frail bodies, they're really aggressive, and they'll stand up to you, and they're psychological bullies. And if they need to, they'll physically fight you. If they'll physically fight you, even if you can kick their ass, they'll still try and attack you if you really piss them off. Even though you'll kick their ass, that's not going to stop them. They're not cowards, they're very aggressive. So as for this tall white kind of type, in my experience, this kind of type would be, they would actually be more calm. They wouldn't be aggressive. And it doesn't actually fit their body type. Why would a thin humanoid type be
aggressive? The biggest thing is that from what I saw was that they warned this guy never to touch their children.
Yes, this actually fits somewhat with my story. So this kind of warning, this is to do with fear. This isn't aggression. This type that is classified as tall whites, in my experience, they're very timid and they're very scared easily, and they can get defensive and
So if they want a distance between you and, so they have like they're xenophobic like a naturally xenophobic. They're like, just as humans are scared of the sight of a grey, they are scared of the sight of a human. It has a natural fear in them. And so they react in a fear way. They want, they have to because they're so timid, it takes them a long time to get used to being around you. So if any kind of, if they're going to say, if you touch my kids, I'll kill you, that wouldn't be out of aggression. That'd be out of fear, out of a timid fear, a different, you know what I mean?
And from what I understand, this guy was a physicist or something that was with them through the military at some point, and he would go out to a certain area and would in contact with these whites, and he got to where he was he met a whole lot of them. He even found out that supposedly, from what this guy's saying, that we have the smaller ships, we can actually build those.
It's very likely that there's been some kind of technology exchange and mankind has the ability to build certain ships. However, this world is under quarantine, and this is why mankind hasn't tried to send man operated ships above the edge of the atmosphere.
Right.
Because this world is under a quarantine, and they'll get into a lot of shit will go down. That's under a quarantine and evaluation period right now. There's a lot going on regarding that, but basically this world is under quarantine. And if anyone tries to go to the moon again or whatever, or try and travel to Mars, man, it's probably different.
Right. That's what I was going to say was that.
Sorry.
Right.
I have a detailed
interplanetary travel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have a detailed explanation of this. A lot of it's explained in my movie, and if you can go through my talks with Matt, I actually go through a lot of further details that aren't exactly in my movie on some of our talks. If you can find which ones that we talked about this stuff, I have a ton of details.
Okay.
I have a ton of details. I don't have every explanation for everything, but I have a ton of details on a lot of things.
Well, you kind of you're batting probably 80 out of 100. Tossed your way there, my friend. So,
I'm not like other people who just make up stories. You ask them a question they haven't thought of before, and they'll just pause and they'll try and construct something. They're just going to try and make something up. I'm not. As you can say, I'm not winging anything. I answer things that straight away. If I know something, I know it, and if I don't know, I'll just say I don't know. I'm not going to try and wing it and make something up.
Right.
Yeah, for example, when have you ever met someone who can show you CT scans of microchips in their head?
Right.
I don't know of anyone who's ever done that. And I'm not saying that everyone who has a story is lying, but not with people. There's very evidence is scarce, and there's a lot of bullshit stories going around. And I'd also like to mention. Matt's seen this himself. I said things about the nature of space and the dimensions and size of things in space 2 years before the world's scientists and astronomers said it. So, I said this 2 years that went through. I went against 50 years of science and astronomy, universal consensus, and I said this is how things are. 2 years later, they realised that they were catastrophically wrong. They had to throw out all the textbooks and start over from scratch. All their measurement tools of space, they had to start over from scratch, and it turned out that I was right. So if I was right like that, that's an extremely unlikely possibility for me to just guess that. And it's not the only so-called guess that I've
right.
Done. And this was regarding the size of Andromeda, because I have a story regarding Andromeda.
Jeremy, what do you know about the Pleiadian star system?
Pleiadians. As far as I'm concerned, this Pleiadian bullshit, it's just New Age cult bullshit. No reptilian, shapeshifting aliens from the 9th dimension. No Pleiadians and all this religious stuff that the New Age stuff's pushing, this alien religious stuff. Absolutely none of that. In fact, it goes against the whole governing authority balancing system of ideologies. Such a species, if a species did that, went to a world and did that shit, they would be violently quarantined onto their own world for doing it. This is a very strict rule. All this promotion of religion and stuff, and spirituality and stuff. There's a neutral balancing act of ideologies that happens in the governing authority. A highly refined system that I've actually gone through in some details in my movie and elsewhere. This shit would not be allowed. There's no way that would ever happen. This is just man-made bullshit. If you look at the people who are saying these stories, you look at their history, these are the people who are going around making failed prophecies that fail over and over again. They rip people off, and they sell tickets to heaven and shit, and they rip people off. They disappear for a few years after their prophecies fail, 2 years or so, and they come back and under a different name and they do the same old shit. I used to take these people down in the early 2000s. They were exploiting children and shit. They were running pedophile rings and shit, the same people behind the New Age cult. These are the people behind this Pleiadian reptilian bullshit.
I wonder if these are the same people, guys, that are involved in this, the extracting of this, what the hell is it? It's called, adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome. Oh, you mean the extraction of materials from the human brain?
Yes.
No, look, this New Age stuff is man-made. This is not coming from aliens. This is coming from cults, religious cults. For example, Scientology is actually a branch of the New Age cult. A lot of people don't realize that.
Now, one more time, repeat that.
Scientology is actually a branch of the New Age cult. It's actually the most responsible and reasonable branch. And there's more to Scientology that people don't realize. But that's a topic of itself. Raelism, you know that Rael? That's another branch of the New Age cult. These are just more famous ones, but the most toxic ones are these Galactic Federation of Light people. These are they're devil worship. These are Luciferian shit, really toxic, evil shit. These are the people who, remember I warned you about the false peace, the false unity, the fake love. The toxic evil, the wolves hiding among sheep. The Luciferians are extremely evil people who are pretending to be peaceful, and they're trying to woo you over with a false peace to put down your defenses and brainwash you. These toxic evil people. This is the New Age cult that I keep warning about. It sounds like it's all sweet. Nothing's harmless. Nothing's on the surface. It is extremely. They are offering you a cup of sweet tasting lethal poison. It is not what it seems, and these people are extremely evil who are behind this stuff. And they fool a lot of ignorant people who are very passive and they want to embrace peace, and they don't want to, they want to fight, and people who are very welcoming and stuff like that, they take people advantage of people's
people who are gullible.
Yes, they take people advantage of people's gullibility. And Matt, you got a little bit upset about when I talked about this stuff, and I said, you've got to look into this stuff. This is very dangerous, and there's also a backlog of stuff to go through first. And I wanted you to go through the triune brain stuff to warn you about the exploitation of emotions, about emotional reasoning, which you've kind of get what I said about that, the dangers of this stuff. This is how these people manipulate you. You ever heard of alpha wave manipulation? There used to be Wikipedia traces of this. They scrubbed it from Wikipedia. So this is how people you said, Jimmy, hypnotizing people using alpha brainwave techniques.
Excuse me for a minute.
To hypnotize people and brainwash them and stuff. Look, if you look at Christian preachers, how they try and put you into a trance.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they use the word
like Benny Hinn kind of shit. You know who Benny Hinn is?
Of course I know who Benny Hinn is.
Okay, have you seen when he does this thing and he puts people into trances and the way he talks? He's trying to charm you like a charmed snake.
Well,
this is what these people do.
It's called NLP programming, neuro-linguistic programming. And the elite are very well, the media especially, this is their perfection. They've perfected this.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to put you into a state of vulnerability between being awake and being asleep. Now these are two different between what are called the floodlight conscious and the spotlight conscious. That's another story, but there's consciousness and then there's unconsciousness, and there's this little area in between where you transfer between, like a little void. And you get someone in that state is where a human is psychologically extremely vulnerable and subject to suggestion, to the power of suggestion, and they're easily controlled. And this has got to do with the primal nature. It's how consciousness goes in and out. This is the most vulnerable place of a human psyche, and this is what brainwashers try to get you into, that state of being half asleep and just like a zombie state, and feel that you're not threatening, that you're in no danger, like as I said, the frog in the boiling pot kind of scenario. Being in this state is extremely dangerous, and evil people will try and trick you into putting you into this state so that they can exploit you, and they'll have you believe that you're in no danger, that you're all taken care of, like a baby who's pacified by the comfort of its mother. Oh, someone just left.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he just left. You maybe he'll come back. Might have disconnected.
I don't know what's going on.
At least you've gone through the triune brain stuff, so you get an idea that there's something to what I'm saying here about the dangers of emotional thinking and stuff.
Well, sure. I mean, now giving me what you to research will make me, as long as I don't react, okay, or before I react. Right, I think with my logical brain where that's stemming from. I mean, you're giving me some really good brain food in conjunction with trying to figure out what and who, why the manipulation is taking place, and how to attack it before it primarily gets me out of control.
Yeah, so look, I'll say something on this. People don't realise all around you, because this shit never flied in the past. We're born into such a fucked up state of things. We don't know. People today don't know any better how fucked up it is. Like, if people from 100 years ago were to just teleport to here now, they'd be horrified about what they see. So you see all like the advertisements and shit everywhere you go. Just go into a city and look around you. This is all around you, and you don't see what's going on. How fucked up it is. All the advertising, all the manipulation, the brainwashing and shit all around you that you don't even know is there, because it's always been there. You just don't know any better. This is extremely toxic and evil. Mind control shit all around you.
Right.
And if you look at you look at like advertising manipulation techniques and shit like that, this is extremely evil and exploitative. And they do the same thing. They try and get you into a pacified zombie state between conscious and unconscious to make you feel non-threatened, and then they try and exploit certain emotions. They exploit your emotions. They don't exploit your instincts. Because instincts don't react. They just automatic. But emotions, you can actually control someone through their emotions. It's through their emotions that they do this. They try to appeal to your emotions. For example, like when a politician tries to make an argument for the children, and they'll try and say, this other politician, they don't care about the children. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's just a common, easy tactic to identify. But there is a lot of depth to this evil, disgusting manipulation of the human psyche. Now, I am actually immune to it. I come with extra code, as we talked about.
Come here.
I can interact with it, of course, and everything, but it doesn't have power. It doesn't control me. This is the incorruptibility. This is part of what I mentioned. So,
right.
I see it more than people, but other people who understand this stuff, they can see it too. And they know how much power it has over them. And by the more aware you are of this stuff, the less power it has over you. And it's right in front of you in broad daylight, and you don't even see it.
And when you see the shit that's going on in broad daylight right in front of you, you become horrified about what you see and how evil so many people regarding the whole advertising industry and shit is. Like, I've got a coffee right in front of me, right? A Dare iced coffee double espresso. It's full of all this symbolism and colours and graphics and shit. This isn't random. This isn't just someone's work of art. This is deliberately manipulative shit. This is brainwashing shit. And they all do it.
What do you know about have you seen the movie Avatar yet, Jeremy?
Yeah. Just give me a second, I need to wait here. Yeah, I've seen Avatar, yeah.
The movie what?
Avatar. The blue alien dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering if he's seen
just Avatar. Something on that. They used, I think it was 2,000 quad-core computers, PCs, to generate the forest environment for that movie.
Wow. That's interesting. You said 2,000 or 200,000, Jerry? Hello.
I think we're getting we're coming in and out here, Matt.
Can you hear me, Jay? Or Stephen?
Yeah, I can hear you, but Taryn is kind of fading in and out there.
No, I'm not.
No, there he is.
I don't think you guys heard me. I said I'll be back in a second. Then I just finished up saying something about Avatar. And
oh, okay.
I didn't disconnect. Yeah. You mustn't have heard me.
Okay.
So what about Avatar?
No, I was just curious how realistic and really, I've heard different scenarios along the line of, like I was sharing with you, Taryn, that, there's so much propaganda going around about what we are, who we are, whether it be living in a false reality, whether it be living in an avatar scenario, whether it be living in a holographic universe, yada yada yada. I was curious on your take of the story of the Avatar in conjunction with what you know as reality to be. Is it real? Is it not real? The movie Avatar, you know what I'm saying? I mean, how close knit is that shit to what's true?
Well, on that subject of what's real or not, have I not opened a Pandora's box by saying that the universe isn't constructed yet? Mankind isn't constructed. It's still being built. It's not quite real yet. There's a Pandora's box there.
Yeah, let me. I gotta grab a beer on that one.
on the topic of aliens and stuff.
Shit.
Maybe I could show. I'll show Dragon. The first I've been in several alien ships and stuff. I've actually flew one of them. Would you like to see the first alien ship I went into?
Yeah.
I've got drawings of it, and this was actually a long time ago. So this is what it looked in the front. There was one occupant in it, and he was a bit taller than a human, and he wore some very colourful clothes with a lot of frills hanging off and everything. So that's the front of it. So let's go inside. All right. So where's the other inside pictures? Okay. So this is what it looks like, and it's standing somewhere kind of like around the middle of the ship. That's what it looks like looking at the front view screen, right?
Oh.
So those lines on the ground, those white lines, they were like a light. They seemed to be the light for the room coming from the ground. They seemed to light up. It was dark, and they were lighting up the room. So if you look the other way, you look behind the ship, that's what it looked like. So two doors left and right, and the orange thing is just a patchwork square to draw where he sat on it. There was a chair, like a typical like an office kind of chair. It wasn't a big full body chair. It was just a relatively basic kind of chair, but it had all this shit dangling around on all around it. And he would grab things and pull it.
Is that where you controlled the ship from, or what?
Yes, that's where you controlled the ships on. So there was all these things dangling from the ceiling that he would grab and pull down, and like tools and devices and shit that were surrounding it, that he would pull down and use to control the ship. So let's have a look at the blueprint from what it would look like from above. I'll explain it. So on the bottom, you see that blue thing on the bottom, blue rectangle and the other blue rectangles, they're doors. They just represent doors. So as you can see, on the bottom is the entry point. There's a little like rectangular-ish kind of room, and then on the door goes to the left into a small room, and then it opens up in the other door into the other room. So on the other side, there's a room on the right as well. This is where the stasis chambers went. It was a very small room, compressed rooms. There wasn't much room in these two rooms on the left and right, and it was just this big main area.
Okay, I got one question for you.
Yep.
This is something that's always been in my mind. You've heard of folding space?
Folding space?
Yeah, to travel.
I've heard of these ideas, but this is not how any technology operated from anything I saw. I can actually show you how a certain ship flew. I can show you another ship. Right. I actually flew a ship. You want to see the ship I flew?
Definitely.
It actually, look, here's a Black Knight satellite, and it looks suspiciously just like my ship, right? That's the Black Knight satellite.
Wow.
So let's have a look at the cockpit, what it looks like in a cockpit seat. It was a one-man ship. It was very cramped. I went in a recent discussion. I went through a lot of details of this ship. I'll just give you a few details here. So that's what it looks like on the cockpit seat. So there's this semicircle panel. This semicircle panel with all computer tools and everything. There was a couple of small screens on it, and there was this like a steering wheel kind of thing, right? You push the steering wheel forward, the ship goes forward. You pull it back, and it slows down and stops. And you can move the steering wheel on every like 6 kind of axes. You can bank it left and right. You can rotate it, all kinds of stuff depending on which axis you move the steering wheel. So you see on the left and right, there's these 2 screens. They're actually attached they hung down on the roof from the roof with like a mechanical arm each, and they were. On one side, it showed information about things outside the ship, and the other one showed information of things inside the ship. Well, there's not really any much use unless you really need to look at things inside the ship, unless you had reason to. But mostly, it was looking about things outside the ship when you're in close proximity to something, so you don't bump into it.
Pretty well straightforward, then, huh?
So as you can see in the top of the screen there, there's the view screen of it opened up and went wider as it went up, and it went to like a round semicircle, a big open area on top. So it went like really high.
Right. So how did you navigate?
So you used the 2 screens on the left and right for the information inside and outside the screen. You used the panel. You can do the whole thing on autopilot if you want, but there's certain times you want to not do that. So the semicircle panel. That was how you did the autopilot and all kinds of stuff. You can actually pull up different information and you can completely modify the data that comes on the screens, on each screen. So depending on what you're asking me how to operate, I just want to explain how it worked. So when it had 2 modes, it was a hybrid ship. It had planetary mode and space mode. So in space mode, it had some kind of pushing effect, and that moved you in different directions. So when you were in a gravity well, the controls that moved your ship around they were very fragile. So when you're in a gravity well, they start not responding. So then you'd have to switch to planetary mode. So as you can see, it's aerodynamic. So it's aerodynamic because it's a hybrid ship. So it's meant for long distance space travel, and it's also made for a lot of planetary travel on a planet. So that's why it's aerodynamic. It's not that these circular ships. It's completely different technology to all these circular ships, and it's probably some older, more primitive technology. It may very well be. So when it comes to long distance space travel, that's something completely different. So there was the space mode, normal travel, and there was the planetary mode travel. I'll get to the planetary mode travel soon. So when it comes to travelling long distance, there was a completely different... Someone just started Windows.
that was my computer. I'm talking to you on my phone. So.
Okay. So when you're travelling from A to B in long distances of space, it had a different mechanism for travel. This is not the same as normal space local travel. This is long distance method. So what it did is you would... the ship would cause a distortion in front of the ship, and it would do 2 things. On the front of the ship, it would work as some kind of shield, so you wouldn't hit any micrometeorites that would go straight through and destroy your ship. It would work as some kind of shield from the front. but from behind, it worked like a gravitational well that you would fall perpetually into it. However, it's anchored at a certain distance in front of the ship, so you're perpetually falling into this thing in front of your ship. You're being pulled into it, but it's constantly in front of you, like a carrot in front of the horse. You get what I mean?
Right.
So you would just be perpetually falling forward. So if you're perpetually falling forward in a zero resistance environment, you're just going to keep going faster and faster and faster. You set the distortion in front of your ship, and it's just going to perpetually pull you forward faster and faster. Over time, you're going to go at a massive fast speed over time.
So that's how you traveled.
Right. That was going to bring me to how fast it would actually travel.
I have no numbers, but what I will say, it went fast enough that there was a very significant time dilation.
Let's say, okay, to go 200 light years, how long would it take you?
I don't have any specific numbers, but I will say that the trips I went took between, say, 50 and 200 years.
Wow.
There was one time and one time only that I, this is going to sound strange, but this happened a long time ago. I was a messenger that went back and forth between Earth. So if you're traveling long distance, you go into stasis, you're constantly skipping ahead into the future. You're frozen in time during the journey. So constantly skipping as a messenger into the future. So this is over a long period of time.
Right, because you didn't age, right?
Yes, because you're not aging. When you've got time dilation, time's going at a different speed, even if you are conscious, but I also went into stasis. That orange thing in the ship there, that's a patchwork stasis chamber. It fills up with the liquid gel substance, and you get it freezes you during the journey, a long journey. It's still a long journey regardless, but less time flows inside your ship than outside the ship. So, I was going to say, what was the point I was just making? I forgot the point I was making. I was saying about the long distance.
Talk about the stasis pod, because that's how you got from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Without the aging process taking place.
Okay, so if I didn't go in a stasis pod and I travelled from A to B, it might, I'm just going to get a random number here. Just say it takes me 1 year, right? Because I'm going really fast, and for me it takes 1 year. It's not too long, right? But for points A and B, 50 years might have gone by. Because when you're going so fast, time slows down for you, and it's and everywhere else is going faster. So this is your speed determines the speed of time. So when you're constantly flying forward, you're picking up a massive speed over time. Time starts going slower and slower for you in relative to everything else. So your whole chronometer and everything will completely out. And there's a random factor involved too. It's
unpredictable. So you have no idea exactly when you're going to arrive. You can get like a general estimate. That's about it.
Right.
Now, Taryn,
the stasis chamber. Okay, so it's just like a coffin box basically. There's nothing special about it. You just lay into it, and it fills up with this gel liquid substance, and while it's filling up, you're put to sleep, and then it freezes you, and then it also thaws you when you arrive automatically. Your ship automatically does that itself. So sometimes when you're going to a place, you need to make adjustments and stuff. So you might have to actually wake up, go back into stasis a couple of times to get to adjust your journey, especially when it comes to waypoints and shit. That's a long story, but I don't know what else to say on it. That the stasis chambers freeze you and unfreeze you for the journey. You don't necessarily have to go in a stasis chamber, but it's going to take a long time if you do. So generally you go into a stasis chamber. There are those that don't go into stasis chambers and they go on like lifelong journeys and stuff like that. It's a very rare thing that happens. You generally go into stasis. So when you go into stasis, you're frozen and unfrozen. If you freeze a normal human being with water, you can freeze them fine, but when you unfreeze them, it damages their body. So there's something to do with this. There's something about this substance that it doesn't kill you. However, it still damages you. So if you keep freezing and unfreezing over and over, it has progressive damage. And when you unfreeze, you kind of need to heal up. It's not the best experience to go through. But when the more you do this, the more damage it does to you, and it's progressive. So certain species are more resilient to this than others. and others can be cybernetically modified to make it so it's not a problem anymore. But to my knowledge, very few, if any, were cybernetically modified. The thing is, no one travelled back and forth over and over and over, except for people like me who were messengers. This was a very well-respected profession because, as a messenger, you were living in your own timeline. You're travelling everywhere, passing on messages. This wasn't sent through signals. No, it was sent through. Information was sent directly through messengers, like I was. So every time you leave a place, you're permanently saying goodbye to everyone you ever met, because next time you come back, everyone's long dead. You're constantly skipping ahead.
Because so many years will pass.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So being a messenger was a well-respected profession. It was a very self-sacrifice profession, and it also took its toll on your body. But for everyone else who travelled, this wasn't a problem, because this is only a problem when you do this over and over and over.
Right.
Do you mind talking about for a second about what you just said, and that is watching the evolution and the ending of humanity from time to time, right?
Yeah. Okay. So all this problem started was mankind. I don't want to ruin the story too much, but I'll say that mankind was about 13,000 years ago.
Mankind was to be gently introduced, only a certain branch of mankind, gently introduced to civilization, written language, culture, just to bring it. It was on the edge of the animal kingdom. It was ready to start taking the reins of its own heritage, and mankind was to be gently eased into and introduced into something. So eventually, in the future, they may reach to the point where they'll become part of a greater community. So this was a very gentle thing, careful thing that needed to be done, right? While it was being done, an extraterrestrial group, they were about two or three times the size of a human. They're like kind of like cross between a grey and a giant cave troll, and I can explain the whole psychology of them if you want, but they weren't very nice creatures, and they exploited mankind, and they fucked a lot of things up, and they caused a lot of problems, and this is the whole point of being a messenger, was to try and resolve this and send messages and warnings back to them to get the fuck out, or they're going to come and get rid of them themselves, which they eventually did. So what happened is, they gave mankind
trinkets. They introduced them just to make mankind not fight back. They just gave them some shit just to make them behave, and they were taking women and stuff like that. And there were some problems that happened. They were just trying to pacify mankind so mankind didn't fight back. And this led to mankind being introduced to things that they wasn't ready for, like certain ideological things. And it fucked up. The whole plan got fucked up by what they did. And mankind went into a bad direction. They started abandoning their heritage and doing fucked up, like impulsive shit and getting into ideological insanity, stupid shit. And they went off and mankind started getting really fucked up over it. But there's more things a problem. So mankind was introduced to things, and that also pushed the evolution of culture and civilization, but in a really bad direction. And civilizations kind of rose and fell all over the place, and it got worse, more unstable over time. A lot of things.
Was that from all the fighting that went on, and
there was a lot of it's basically the abandonment of any kind of sense of morality and to indulge in instant gratification, impulsiveness, and ideological brainwashing, crazy shit.
As in Sodom and Gomorrah, is that what you're saying?
Yes, that kind of shit, yes. So what I like to refer to this problem as ideological viruses. That's what I like to refer to this, cause this problem was. So it was ideological at first, but as time went on, it was known from the start that they were doing some kind of genetic shit, because they were kidnapping, they were taking human women. And they were doing things, no one ever saw them again, but they said that they were taking them as their partners, they were giving them a better life, but no one ever saw them again. And they said that they were going to have children with them and stuff, but never saw the children, any of the children at first. But over the course of from 13,000 years ago to 6,000 years ago, those children, I saw those children, and they were around the same size or a little bit bigger than a human. They weren't giants like their alien parents. They were they were more human than like them, but they were clearly not human. They were very alien, but they were hybrids. And they only saw them during the very later stages when this really degenerated really bad. So when it degenerated really bad, you could say that this was at the height of technology and stuff like that. And these hybrids were a big part of this civilization. There were humans and there were these hybrids, and gene pools got all fucked up and everything. So it all degenerated so badly, and they decided, the governing authority decided, okay, we're going to have to intervene. And they sent a force to intervene on this planet, and that's why you see a giant scar of death. I'll just show you a photo of this giant scar of death right now. You'll see it yourself.
All right.
I wonder. I'm not going to change topic or anything, but I'm just saying, I wonder if Terran had been in here during the time when the creatures or the hominid humans or whatever they be.
I never saw any. I don't recall, at least, seeing any other hominids. And my focus was around a certain branch of mankind. I knew that there was black people down south, and some of them were eventually brought up. There was some kind of crossbreeding that started, and I was against that. There was no Asians to the right. There were no Asians in my story. I didn't go over that direction. But I went around the Middle East and penetrated a little bit into Eastern Europe. It was mainly around the Middle East. And you could say not that far from the Tabiki, Turk or whatever it's called. Sorry?
Abu Simbel, okay? Abu Simbel is a really, really place to talk about later, another time. Yeah. But there were giants that took upon women. Okay, you've got
really. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, but you've got like statues of Ramses, which is like I think 30 foot tall. Or you got
these aliens that I'm talking about, maybe they were. If these were the same aliens, then it is possible that they've just exaggerated their size. But the ones I saw, they were about 2 to 3 times like the height of a human. Obviously, like one of these could kill a whole group of humans easy, right? And they were more muscular than a human too.
That were the giants that they spoke about there.
They might have been the same giants. These are the only ones. These are the meddlers. So these were like about 2 to 3 times the height of a human. In fact, I can do. Right. I'll show you a feeble.
Are they the so-called red-headed aliens?
No, the redheads. I'm one of those redheads. We're not aliens.
Dave.
Well, I'm red-headed myself. And my ancestry goes back to Europe.
It goes back
progenitors,
for
guys.
The origins.
That's it. The progenitors.
The progenitor race, yes.
Right? Am I right? Progenitor race?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like to call
and then I have also I have B negative blood type.
Okay, so you're not a purebred. I'll show you right now what a pureblood, what I look like a pureblood looks like, because the hair color really gives it off. Because we do look like other white people. We're actually very genetically distant. But I just find it. Let's find it. Here we go. Here's a picture. This is what the hair color looks like. It's not like orange red. It's not like a ranger. This is like dark blood red.
I hate to tell you, but that little fella on the right, that's an auburn. That's what my hair color is.
Well, that's what my hair color is. But since you're not RH you said you're B. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood that. You said I thought you meant RH. So do you know if you're RH negative?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so yeah, I misunderstood the wrong blood type. So you may in fact be a pure blood of. So what this means is you actually have a different number of bone. If you are one of us, it sounds like you are. If you have that color hair, because that's extremely rare, that would mean that you would have your RH negative. You would have green eyes.
They're kind of they change actually.
Yes, that's actually not unusual. But have they been mostly green?
More of a brown, and then they'll go to a light green.
Yes, that's not unusual. So instead of being fully brown, you might have like a little tint of brown in certain section of your eye.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm. See, how would I know this thing? How would I say that and not know it? Because I know the genome. So brown eyes don't exist in our. The brownness is actually not to do with a natural eye color. This is to do with diet and environment and stuff like that. This is a different cause of brownness. But generally, there's a green thing to it. Yes.
Imagine that, you son bitch is related.
See, how would I have said? I specifically said a brown tint to a section of your eye. How would I have guessed that? Clearly I know something.
Yeah.
So this would mean that you would have a different number of bones, especially in your spine. You may be missing. You may have never grown at least one or more wisdom teeth. That's not always the case, but
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, well, you see, how would I know these things? That's two random guesses there. That's a pretty random guess. How would I know these things?
Yeah.
So there's a lot more. You have like a whole different number of electrodes in your heart. A whole physiology's off. So if up until probably the last year or so, if you were to see a doctor and go through, they will do scans of you and look at this stuff. They would say there's something wrong with you. I mean, I went through shit. This shit's in my story. Like all these so-called anomalies in my body that I was treated like I was genetic mutant, that I was broken, that I was flawed. No, I'm actually, this is a completely different genome. This is the progenitor genome of the rest of humanity. Now this Rh negative thing, what this means is that we didn't breed with primates a long time ago. This is why we were considered the pure race.
Yeah. Well, and they're when I was in the military, and there was only one person in the whole battalion that had B negative blood. So
B negative,
they put.
That's not really anything to do with bloodline. So when you got the difference of A, B, and O and all that, this goes back a long time ago, before humans even became humans. So these types of, this is a different blood system. So the ABO blood system is something that goes back a long way away. But the RH blood system is something different. This is how you can measure the actual race. So when it comes, because on the ABO blood system is so old that all races have a different mix of it. The frequency of the ABO blood system in different populations is mostly to do with environment. It's not to do with any. So type B people are not necessarily a specific race separate to type A. These blood types exist in all populations.
Right. Well, it's any time that medicine acts differently to me.
Yes, that's what
than it does to other people.
You look this stuff. This is what. For example, when it comes to painkillers, you need a lot more painkillers and you need more anesthetic.
Yes. The painkillers that I've been on different ones, and
they don't work.
Some of them.
They're not good.
No, they don't.
You need a lot more. Yeah. See, I'm right again. How would I know these things? Clearly, I know something.
Stephen, this is what I'm saying. By Jeremy just fires off randomly by things in which he knows. I mean, it's unreal the vast amount of information that he's got.
Right.
And when it comes off with I'm the founder of Anonymous, you're like, well, remember I told you, I tried to explain to you, you got to watch his story because the FBI is involved in this, and they know about him, he knows about them, and it's like the story is just a fucking very deep story, man. It's very, very detailed.
All right.
Consider all the guesses I just made of your own physiology, and clearly, how would I have known those things? This is not a rare thing. This is what I do every day.
Right. My goodness.
Taryn, what time is it where you're at right now? Because it's like almost 10 o'clock here where we're at.
1 in the afternoon. Hey, Dragon, have you ever done a DNA test?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. See, they still don't admit our genome. They try and put us into different classifications. There's
still things going on there, but they will say they will admit at least some things about our genome, and there's more and more coming out, especially in the past year. So there's going to be big changes in genetic mapping. Yep.
Well, I know that it said the test that they did said that my metabolism is much faster than a lot of people's. And that's why I need more pain medication than normal.
No, see, they don't understand what's going on with our genome. This has nothing to do with metabolism. This has got to do with our whole physiology. Our whole nervous system operates differently.
Right. Okay. All right. Now that
again,
it's not metabolism. This is to do with how our nerves work.
I got
time
you.
Is it again?
Sorry? What did you say, Matt?
Jeremy, again, what time is it? What time is it?
It's 1 p.m.
Okay, 1 p.m. where you're at. All right.
Yeah.
Because right now,
me on 24-hour time. I'm all over the place. So I have to go up at 3 a.m. I have to wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. just to talk to you guys. So that's all right. I'm wondering where we stand, because again, I want to bring you part of the panel of the Matrix Minds, because dude, again, you are like a fucking autonomous robot full of information. On top of, again, dude, I want to keep you speaking too. I mean, keeping you speaking would keep you safer. And being a reach of like 14 different countries, bro, I do believe that, me, you, and Steven and the other guests that we've got calling in can have very deep conversations. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, I've got a long history of 100% consistency of making claims that really have an extremely low percent of being a guess. And like I did just here, of how would I know your physiology the way I do if I didn't know if there's wasn't something to this.
Right.
Jeremy, I'm not asking you to be a guest. I'm asking you to become part of the panel.
Look, I don't do work in hierarchy. Just I consider just if you want to have a talk, simply have a talk at a table. No, with no hierarchy. Just you want to have a talk at a table, we talk at a table. But I don't consider whether guest or host or whatever. I'm just someone talking with a bunch of people in a recording, and we can see if we can get some information out that's important for people to know.
I guess we can try to bring him to the table every chance we get there, Stephen.
Yeah. That's as far as I say. Unless I have reason to say otherwise, I'm available to discuss and go through things as much as possible. That's what I'm here for. And people aren't used to that, because everyone else they want to hide in the corner and protect their beliefs and their ideas. And I'm sitting at the table. I'm saying, poke me, prod me, test me, burn me in the fire, and see what happens.
Right.
I'm doing the opposite, and people sometimes get intimidated by that. And people, like in the Manhattan campaign, they get offended at that. People will say things, and they'll complain that I talk too much. I challenge people's ideas too much. It's offensive.
The Muslim, your outtake on Muslims just fucking blow people away.
Yeah, I say some really crazy things about Muslims, but I prove it. And look, I offer $1,000 for anyone who can provide an argument otherwise. Have you seen the argument with me and Phil? And he basically says, it's not that you're wrong, but you're not right either.
It's either one or the other.
Yeah, he's basically,
right
he's awkwardly admitting that after all his denials and everything, he's awkward. You can see he's awkward through the whole thing. He basically admits that I'm right. He just doesn't want to directly say it, but he admits that. All right, like this is a guy who lives in a Muslim country, and he's pretty much admitting that I'm right, and he won't take my money to prove me wrong. No one will, because I'm right about these things. And the fact that I offer this money and they react the way they do every single time, it just consistently proves that I'm right. As hard as it is to accept the things that I say, the way people respond the way they do. What in the world?
Right.
I tried to at first I thought that was a monkey with a blindfold on. I didn't see the bottom part, I saw the top part. I thought it was a monkey with a blindfold on.
I tried to explain your outtake, your explanation.
You're just cutting out, hang on. You're cutting out everywhere, I can't hear. Can you hear me?
Alright, I said,
there we go.
I tried to tell Stephen your analogy of the Christchurch shooting, and I tried my very damnedest.
Did you read his manifesto yet?
No, because I took your word for it.
Don't. As I say, don't just believe as believable as it is. I want people to look into this. I don't want people to blindly believe me. I want people to think and reason and investigate and see the truth for themselves. That's why I want people to test me, to test my ideas. I don't want believers. I want people to reason and think. I want people to. That's what I said in all these recordings. I say, read. I want people to read his manifesto for themselves. Don't just take my word for it. I'll read some of it out to you just to give you an idea. But I want people to read it for themselves.
I'll search for it. I'll read it.
I can actually. It's a bit risky. I can get a copy to. If you can't get a copy of it, I can try and organise to get one to you. It's a little bit risky, but I can still do it.
But give Stephen your definition of what happened. I mean,
basically, I need to
from what the media was fucked up.
I'll say I need to wee, but I'll say this before I wee, and I'll be back. So I'll say this first. So basically, what he did, ignore everything the media and everyone said. What he did was he toured the world for 7 years. He was a communist and an anarchist and a libertarian. He toured the world for 7 years. And he learned a lot of things, and he appreciated all these cultures he went to, and he learned a lot about the world, and he learned about who the real bad guys were. And he learned that the fact that his own people are being massively genocided in a massive conspiracy, and that a lot of people know about this, but we're not allowed to talk about it. So he went and toured the world, he learned what was really going on in the world, and then he a lot happened, and he ended up in New Zealand, and he had to rush his plan. And what his plan was to do a political intervention, to set in motion political interventions to trigger the enemies of his people, to reveal their true evil colours. So what he did is he just chose identified a mosque full of terrorists, right? This is a terroristic mosque. These people were not innocent. These people were plotting genocide and terrorist attacks, and they were producing terrorists that went around the world killing people and shit. Okay. None of them were innocent. These are very evil people. So he had to rush things. He wrote his manifesto. He provided a list of evidence to his claims to show that his people are being genocided, that these Muslims that he's talking about are trying to genocide and plot massive terrorist attacks. He basically took out an ISIS compound that the government was covering up and protecting. He basically just shot up a bunch of ISIS people. That's pretty much it. To stop them before they did a terrorist attack. And he provided evidence in his manifesto to prove it. And then he went and live streamed and then he went and live streamed him taking them out. And I'll show you something. This will prove the point. So what people don't know is then you're not allowed to talk about. I'll give you a poll I did, and there's a lot. I was involved in things that happened regarding this a month ago. There's a long rabbit hole here. But this is a poll I did before the government shut it down and started rating people who voted in this poll. Look at the votes. This is what people really think. Read that. Well, I'll just go to the loo. Actually, can you read, Matt? Can you read that out to him? Because if you can't read it,
yeah,
I'll be back.
Yeah, the government, John Jeremy Martin's poll himself. It's like your position on the New Zealand mosque issue. I'm not allowed to publicly speak. What everyone knows is the truth because my country has already been invaded and taken over. Hate speech. Okay. Or number two, Islam is the religion of peace. That's number two. Number three would be lunar right nutter, white supremacist, conspiracy theorists, Nazi racism, sexism, homophobia, pedophilia, KKK privileges, poo. There's like there's 89 comments, 11 shares, and I don't see the top one is what got out of the poll.
They weren't allowed to speak about it.
You're right. Well, here, out of that, I just did some digging, right, real quick, about that Christchurch shooting, and there's 7 things in which the AP posted for the following. That it says, ICYMI. It says, after the New Zealand massacre, Islamophobia spreads across the Chinese social media. Our terms via the media cloud, an open source media collections device and analyzing tool developed by MIT Centers for Civic Media, says, we examined these stories and retrieved information in compliance of the 7 guidelines compiled by No Notoriety and other campaigns that seek to limit the amplification of terrorist acts through media. While media justice campaigns often seek out journalists to conduct changes, we also expand our analysts to access whether internet culture reflects journalistic choices about whether to list the names of ideology of the attacker. We coded for compliance with the following best practices. Number one, do not publish the shooter's name. Do not link or publish the shooter, the name of the form of the shooter that's posted on to promote the attacks. Number 3, do not link or publish the name of the shooter's manifesto. 4, do not describe or details of the shooter's ideology. Number 5, do not publish the name of specific memes linked to the shooter's ideology. 6, don't refer to the shooter as a troll or his actions as trolling. Number 7, follow the Associated Press guidelines. Yeah, right. 7, don't follow the Associated Press guidelines for using the term alt-right contained within the quotation mark or modify it without languages such as so-called or so self-described. In addition, we coded for the stories that focused specifically on the victims mentioned in the Islamophobia as a cause in the killings. The graph below shows what guidelines, publications, and differences in the countries that have been violated. I'll show you that. I'll share this link with you.
Something I'm not sure, but I don't think you mentioned the actual votes in it. But if you did, I'll just repeat it again. I'm not sure you did. So on the first vote that says basically, hey, we're being invaded and we're not allowed to talk about it, and everyone knows about it because our country has already been invaded and taken over. That has 365 votes. All the other votes combined are 5. 365 votes to 5. Everyone knows, and everyone else knows exactly what's going on. And I offered, just to prove the point, I offered all these people who voted otherwise, I offered every one of them $1,000 to prove me wrong on live debate. You know what happens? I get death threats. Beheading threats and shit. No argument, just beheading threats. So what I argue, one of the most controversial arguments I make is I say all Muslims are terrorists. Every single Muslim is a terrorist. And I've got a lot more than that to say, but I start with all Muslims are terrorists. And I offer $1,000 for anyone who can prove me wrong. And then we open up a big Pandora's box from there. What happens next?
Okay, Jeremy, I'm a Muslim. I believe in the Quran. I'm a Muslim. Now tell me I'm a terrorist.
You believe in the Quran. What does your Quran say?
Yep, I believe in the Quran. Mike, I don't really know because I'm not truly a Muslim. I'm just giving you a goddamn.
Yeah, no, we're just role playing you being a Muslim, right? Just pretend you're a Muslim, right? That's the context. So if you're just pretend you're a Muslim, yes. I would say, okay, what does your Quran tell you to do? As an infidel, what does your Quran tell you to do to me?
It says to kill you if you do not convert.
And if I do convert, what happens to me? Even if I do convert? The jizya, the sex slavery and stuff.
I don't know.
If I'm a woman and I am subjugated under Islam and force converted by threat under the sort of beheading, what happens to me?
Am I not to become a sex slave and then beheaded after they're done with me, even if I convert?
I don't know. I'm assuming.
So you're just assuming that you're pretending you're a Muslim. So yes, argue from the position of a Muslim.
Yeah,
say again.
fuck you, I'm going to behead you. Yeah, I
no. Try and be like smart about it and pretend, and try and do what people think they pretend.
Doesn't the Quran tell you to smile to their face but stab them in the back?
Basically, yes. I
don't know.
So, you get the idea. Like, it is on every damn page. This is not some bizarre misinterpretation. This is crystal clear on every fucking page.
Right.
They're told to do this to you and lie about it. And I can quote the Quran all day about it, but I won't need to here because we all know. But all three of us really know that's what it says. And that poll above shows that everyone else knows what it says.
It was like I told Matt yesterday about, it was called a Day of Siege when the 300,000 Turks tried to take Vienna back in the 1600s. And, if they would have been able to take Vienna, then that would have opened the door to Europe for the Muslims.
Well, 400 years ago.
This is one of the times they were trying to take over the world.
Yeah.
And
that's the whole game. That's the whole end game.
If they would have, well. And I told him, and guess what day that the main battle took place? It was on September 11th.
There's a lot
of
coincidence beyond that. From? You know that, okay, so we got ISIS today, right? Did you know that the goddess Isis is actually the mother of Allah? Their Allah, God Allah, is not the same God as the Abrahamic God. It's a pagan God, the son of the goddess Isis. And we have ISIS today. By coincidence. That's just the tip of the rabbit hole, man. There's a lot where that comes from.
That's why they went around destroying all the monuments and everything during their while they were running all over the place over there.
So
they were trying to destroy the history of.
This rewriting and destroying of history and pretending to be the people that you consume. The evil people have been doing this for a long time. Muslims have been central to it.
Right.
So when I say that all Muslims are terrorists, and I offer $1,000 for anyone to come and prove me in live debate, otherwise, the reaction of every single time, consistent reaction every single time, pretty much proves what everyone really deep down knows, and I'm just one of the few who are brave to say what everyone really knows deep down.
The fact that all Muslims are
interesting, huh?
And I can go further and say that I can go further and say that all Muslims are also pedophiles, and I can go even further than that.
Well, I heard that, Stephen. You've got to listen to episode number 4.
Yeah, because I've gone over.
I was on number 3 when yesterday when I started talking to you.
Have you got all my uploads yourself? You got a copy of all them? Because I've been uploading them all to my in numbered list in my YouTube channel in case you're missing any.
I gotta download them. You guys are making them fucking faster than I can get.
Yes, I know. I'm suffering the same problem because I'm good. Look, I've been stopping mass shootings and shit on top of all this. Well, as you know, I'm doing a lot of stuff, and I'm doing this. I'm not complaining about all the work I'm doing. I prefer it this way. But like, I've been massively sleep deprived. I'm processing videos, and I don't have. I'm pushing everything as much as possible. I still haven't uploaded today's one yet. I've got it all processed, but I haven't uploaded it. It's ready to upload. But I can't upload it well.
See, today's, Jesus. Right, Jesus Christ. Oh boy. See, we do our show, what we usually do, we start at 9 and we're done by 11.
Right.
Steven?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be noontime, Jeremy's time from noon to 2 on Thursdays. Right? So that would be on Thursday, his day.
Okay.
I'm trying to think about how to work it out. 'Cause again, He honorably stepped down and said, "Nah, I won't be part of the panel, but I'll be on the show."
I mean, I'll be on the show as much as I'm able. I'll just be someone talking on the show.
I want you there, but I want you there every time we do this. That's what I'm saying.
Until further notice, I'm available as much as possible, unless I have reason to otherwise. I'm willing to put all the hard work and time in, as I've been doing for a long time. But see, even Jay was going to put me on his show last year, but this is what happens. People know that, like I know my topics and stuff, and other people are not confident in their topics, and they know that I'm a strong debater and stuff, and they get intimidated. They're too scared to deal with me. They're scared of being attacked or something. They don't want to be humiliated. They don't want to have their own ideas tested. So they know that I like to battle in the fight of debate. I like to test ideas, not just my own, but all ideas. And they're too scared. They're too scared of the consequences of that. They don't want to get burned in the fire. But, it takes a lot of bravery to face me in the fire of debate.
They don't like to admit that they're wrong.
Yes, that's a big part of it too. But not the only part of it. So it's really hard to get people to try and face me and see what happens and see that something good happens out of it. It's not a big scary thing. I'm not gonna turn into the werewolf and eat you up.
What do you think? What do you think there, Stephen? Smart man, huh, buddy?
I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jeremy, do you mind touching on HAARP?
HAARP. I think at least most of this HAARP stuff is just bullshit, but maybe there's something to it. But you're talking about the weather control thingy, right?
Yeah. Right.
I got the perfect meme for this. I got the perfect meme for this. Let's just call HAARP an act of God. Read the meme.
Oh!
If you can read it.
I can't see the sun. Shit.
111 dead.
Lightning strikes a crane on the anniversary of 9/11 and collapses it directly into Islam's holiest site. Islam's latest contributions to peace. 111 dead. If you can look it up, the Mecca crane collapse.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just blame that on HAARP and not an act of God then.
Wow.
Now, weather control, obviously that weather, there's, through the right technology, weather could be controlled, whether it is or not. Like, there's a lot of, every time there's a storm, someone blames it on some government or some shit, It's like blaming Russian bots and shit like that, invisible Russian bots. And until someone can, provide reasonable arguments and evidence, all I'm saying regarding this HAARP stuff is just nonsense. And if anyone want to show me something that they reckon is worth looking into, I'll look into it. But
there's a video that I've seen a few videos that show it looks like a frequency or a vibration that's coming up from Antarctica. And it depends where it travels to is towards like a storm that's out in the ocean, okay?
I've never heard of this. If you can find a copy of it, I'll have a look at it.
I've seen these, but I don't know I can't tell whether or not
it could be something that's
it is actually something that is actually, a frequency or this, heat or whatever it is that's coming out from Antarctica area up towards wherever the storm might be,
Is that Mr. MBB's channel or is that Dabu's channel?
Mr. MBB has shown it and so has Dabu.
Okay, I'll find it and show him.
Okay. All right. And it happens at different times and it's not, it's not something that's constant.
Yeah, it's just an anomaly of at different times.
Well, right.
What I do know about when it comes to polar vortexes and stuff with weather, when it comes to polar regions of planets, a lot of interesting stuff happens. Like the North Pole of Saturn is a giant hexagon. The South Pole, I think it's the South Pole of Jupiter, is a big black spot. I think, if I remember right.
Right.
So when because what you got planets that are spinning.
You know, it's like if you spin a cup, you got a cup full of water and you spin it. You get different regions of the cup. Like the center of the cup standing still, the outside of it's spinning at the most maximum speed. If you're doing that like on a globe, when it comes to the polar regions, the north and south, interesting phenomenon just naturally happen as a result. You got magnetic poles and everything going on as well. Weird things happen. You got a whole bunch of things converging.
What do you think about supposedly that the magnetic resonance or whatever of the Earth and the other planets are changing right now?
Yeah, they're always changing. So the Earth is it's people are exaggerating the magnetic things that are going on Earth. It is possible that a magnetic pole shift will happen. It's possible. But if it does, nothing, your compass, you're going to have to replace your compass. That's it.
Right.
The world's not going to turn upside down. It's not going to affect the rotation of the world or anything. This is just a magnetic pole. Even if it does flip, which it supposedly has in the past. It's not actually a big deal. So the magnetic poles are going all around all over the place. If you actually know the internals of the Earth, it's like there's a lot of iron deep in the Earth. And I don't have it with me, but if you can actually look at a drawing of the magnetic the circuit, the magnetic circuit of the Earth, it's actually an incomplete circuit. It's all haywire. And
Jeremy, you just uncovered a cover-up.
What do you mean?
You don't realize that. By saying what you just said, that goes with saying that during the last ice age, the poles did not shift and create a mass cataclysm. Okay? What you're saying in conjunction with the destruction...
Ice ages don't necessarily have anything to do with pole shifts.
No, but that's what they are deeming the catastrophe of the last civilization was an ice age. And what you've told us so far, or me...
Well, supposedly we had a mini ice age.
According to my story, mankind was only ready for civilization 13,000 years ago during the end parts of the Pleistocene Ice Age. Not before that. From 13,000 years ago to 6,000 years ago.
And then the cataclysm. What about the cataclysm?
The 6,000 year ago one that caused the big giant streak of death around the Middle East, North Africa and Mongolia?
Yes.
See, that wasn't an ice age. That's like the extreme opposite. This is this isn't on the cold regions. This is in the hot regions of the world. So ice ages have little impact on
equatorial regions.
But we're going with what may have killed the dinosaurs, bro. Like
what killed the dinosaurs? Well, I actually have that mentioned in my story. There was a group of amphibian, maybe early reptile evolution, mostly amphibian, like a bipedal frog type of species. They were intelligent, bipedal, and very different to us. And they went through have a very different psychological construct too, because they didn't evolve the mammalian path. They went in a very different way. But they were very warlike, and they lived on this world a long time ago, and there was a mass extinction event. Something happened with the sun, and a meteor hit, and the combination of both, as far as they were concerned, life was wiped out on the planet. A lot of them died, some of them survived, and they had limited space travel at the time, and they mined the solar system and slowly did what they could to prepare themselves for a long journey to find a new homeworld. Eventually, after a very long journey, they made it. And they lived there for a very long time and forgot where they even came from, because that was a very long time ago, many millions of years ago. That might have been the 65 million year ago mass extinction, for all I know. Probably was, but who knows?
You just said they mined the solar system, right?
Yeah, look, I'll show you. I'll show you the
mining.
Well,
wait a minute, because this goes with the Enlil and Enlil and Inky story of them mining this planet for gold.
I've actually measured. I've actually measured timeline of impacts and stuff, and debris fields and everything. And as it seems to happen, there was very different stages of mining. So this group did mine the solar system, but there was mining that happened. I said a long time ago, about 1 billion years ago, more than 1 billion years ago, a certain group of extraterrestrial aliens came into our solar system, and it's very likely, from what I see from the evidence on ancient evidence of moons and planets and stuff, it seems to be the case that they also mined the solar system to some degree. And there were different stages of different mining, and there was actually one stage, I think it was 100,000 years ago, about 100,000 years ago, I think it was, someone done another phase of mining our solar system, and especially the moon. So something happened like 100,000 years ago as well. There was at least 3 different stages of mining that I mapped out during just checking the timeline of debris fields and stuff like that. So I'll just give you a couple of, let's go. Let's see if I can do, if this will upload them all. Yeah, there we go. It's 4 images, example of unnatural occurrences that are not. I wouldn't. The third one and Saturn. I'm not saying that was mine. That's just an interesting thing. That's something different. But the other 3, especially the moon. If you look at the left and right things, that's
right.
Natural. I don't know.
No.
I don't know if your eyes will be able to see it because it's really fine red lines.
Yeah, I could see it.
But if you look at you go find a really high resolution map of the moon and you look at these structures. This isn't 1 or 2. The moon's covered in this shit.
And you say that is what?
I say that it's the result of ancient mining. In fact, let me see. There's one. Where is it?
But ancient mining goes completely against what I just shared with you.
What do you mean?
The ages of man and the stages, yeah. Because what you're talking about is far, far older than what we're told we are. In other words, is history, as we're being told, is a complete fucking ball-faced lie.
As I said, my story goes against a lot of narratives. Not all the narratives, but the way I don't have every detail. But according to my story, mankind was only ready for civilization about 13,000 years ago, at the end of the Pleistocene Ice Age. And actually, what happened was regarding the end of the Pleistocene Age, when mankind was ready in the right environment and the whole situation that was ready to introduce the civilization, 13,000 years ago. So before that, as far as I'm concerned, mankind was a part of the animal kingdom. For all I know, things did happen before then, but not to my knowledge. As I understand it, mankind was only ready for civilization 13,000 years ago, and I have no story before that except for 1.3 billion years ago, and things that happened a long time ago, which had nothing to do with mankind, before mankind was even an animal.
Wow.
So there's this big gap in my story that I don't have any story for that.
The glass structures on the moon. Do you know anything about that?
What structures?
The glass structures on the moon.
Well, I know of structures on the moon, but I'm not sure what we mean by glass. I haven't heard glass before.
Hold on.
I've actually mapped out Mars. I've got I'll see if I've got anything on Mars here.
The glass structures on Mars. On the moon.
Yeah, I've lost my Mars. So I mapped out Mars and I found some really strange things on Mars. There's a website called MarsAnomalyResearch.com. I don't know if it's still up, but it was long on. It's an old website if it's still up. I used to submit things to them to show strange things on Mars, and there were like networks of really strange objects that seemed to be like all those. You might have heard about the so-called glass tunnels on Mars. There's a lot more. Mm-hmm. That shit's nothing compared to other shit that's been found, and that includes liquid water. So in 2005, people like me were saying, "Look, we found liquid water on Mars in 2005." The polar ice caps were huge in the 1980s, and over 20 years they almost completely went. So where did all this whatever ice has melted into, where did it go? And there was all these bullshit theories of where it went. Things did heat up on Mars. Mars is like an icicle in the sun. Any temperature changes in the sun are going to reflect on Mars more than anything. So there was liquid, and one could argue persistent liquid on Mars, and they've admitted this after friggin' 10 years of this bullshit. They finally admit it, and they don't just
right. Not just recently.
Like, I've been saying this shit since 2005, and I get constantly trashed on, and called every name under the sun, and then the people who trash on you end up saying, this is the case. Hey, we've discovered it. No, let's just pretend that they've discovered it and forget those of us who were saying this 10 years ago and all the shit they did to us. They just claim all our shit. They claim it as themselves. You know, as I said, I've been writing that shit. I've been right in advance of shit all the time. And as the Andromeda example, as Matt knows, like that's statistically impossible. You know, I would have had to have seen for myself to know. But as for the Mars stuff, I was proposing this because I actually have knowledge of things that happened a long time ago regarding Mars, enough information to know that in regards of water, ancient water on Mars. So if that happened a long time ago, then that was an argument that if Mars is heating up, which they were denying because they were doing climate change and denial, now climate change obsession, all over the place from one extreme to the other. Just jumping from one bullshit narrative to another. No science or facts about it, just bullshit corrupt narratives one after another. But according from what I understood things from the past, it would make sense that at this point in time there should be liquid water forming on Mars. Took friggin' 10 years just on that. You know, I get trashed on my whole life, and it's just a constant. Like, the people who trash on you, they claim to be the ones to have discovered what they tried to silence. It's just the same toxic shit over and over. So is that video you just linked, the bottom one, is that the one we're in question regarding Antarctica? No, it's alien moon base. Okay, I've seen a lot of things about the moon. Some things.
1960 Lunar Orbiter Project at NASA.
Volume off. There we go. I just
watch that later.
I'm not seeing any interesting pictures. Oh yeah, that one. I'm familiar with that one from a long time ago. Some of these pictures that I've seen before are just glitches. This one here that I'm looking here is interesting, but you need look at the Black Knight satellite, right? This is actually on the NASA archives. You can see this on the NASA archives. See, a lot of these pictures that people propose as being moon bases and stuff, these are just Photoshop shit a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time they're just Photoshop shit. And they pretend that there's this image. You need to be able to source this shit. You have to show that, like NASA archives or something, you show this in there to show that it hasn't been just a Photoshop, because people Photoshop this shit all the time. I'm not saying this is the case in this picture. This picture rings a bell from a while back. I can't remember much about it, but it rings a bell. But I'm not saying that they're not bases and stuff on the Moon or Mars. I argue that there was a long time ago, and they've been abandoned, and you'd be lucky if there's any remains left of it, but there may very well be. But this is stuff that's been long abandoned. This is stuff that goes a long time ago.
Here we go. I found it. It's right.
Yeah, I don't deny that there's structures on the. I mean, I just got a double link of the same one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Damn it.
Got the wrong one.
Hang on. Because my browser got hijacked by Bing.
Bing?
Share. Alright, alright, here it is.
There we go.
Boom, there we go.
So
I think
massive
that's it.
frequency soars from Antarctica spanning thousands of miles. Alright, I'll have a look at this. Just so it doesn't interact with the Chat.
Oh, it's 2 miles. Sorry, it's 2 minutes long.
I'll just look at I'll have the sound off and I'll just look at the visuals. It looks like I won't need the sound by the looks of this.
I do believe, Stephen, this is what you're talking about, right?
So far, this.
Yeah, but the white lines there that are, coming up.
I see what looks like pixelation all over the place. Suddenly.
He's talking about right. Actually, right here. Right here.
Over on the left side there.
Yeah, I just took a screenshot of it. This one right here.
Yeah.
It's primarily.
You mean all those weird pattern of square pixels?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that just looks like a glitch in the mapping system, a typical glitch. There's nothing unusual there. That's just,
okay.
This happens all the time when it comes. See, it's just the way that when you're compiling different images from different sources and all kinds of shit going on. That's not unusual. So I don't see any correlation between that and this storm, because this storm appeared before this glitch.
Right, but what they're saying is that those are steering the storm where they want it to go.
Well, how can they be steering the storm where it wants to go, when they appear long after the storm?
Right.
And there's no impact. There doesn't seem to be any impact. They're not even displaying anything after that appears to know if the storm was even affected by it.
Right.
There's no.
Well, the one
supposedly.
Now supposedly the one that hit Houston last year, the hurricane.
Yeah.
I live 35 miles south of a SAC base. Okay. And supposedly during this storm, now I don't know if there's one out there or not. I've never seen it. It's at Barksdale Air Force Base, supposedly.
Yeah.
That they turned on a HART machine there and held that storm, helped to hold it over Houston longer than it should have.
I'm not familiar with this, but if you can point me to any evidence, I'll have a look at it.
I'm getting there.
And usually when a hurricane hits land, it decreases in intensity, but this one didn't.
That the glitch in that previous video that they're only showing, what they're showing is the storm is already existing, it's moving around, and then suddenly this glitch appears all over the screen, and then the video stops, so it doesn't even show what happens after the glitch to show if it has any impact on the storm even. So there's no evidence here to begin with. But this glitch happens long after the storm already appeared. And by looking at this, I think it's possible that this might have actually had something to do with a solar flare or something. It might have caused the glitch. So you can see some kind of pattern in the glitch, some kind of magnetic field of the Earth is related. It seems to be representing like the Earth's magnetic field or something.
That's supposedly what
yeah,
dropped
I'll see
in
the
there.
video. HARP Alaska antenna array functioning. I'll just leave the volume off again.
So,
used to heat up the ionosphere and the magnetosphere.
All I'm saying is looks like we've just got a bunch of electricity poles, and there's an arc between them, and it goes for a couple of seconds and then disappears. It's nothing to do with the atmosphere or anything like that. It's just an electric charge.
I'm saying they use that supposedly to heat up the atmosphere in order to control weather.
to heat up the atmosphere with an electric charge, you imagine how many. Like, put it this way: you've got a lightning storm, right? Lightning storms often happen during a cold snap, like a wave of cold, right? They don't heat. Lightning storms don't turn into 40 degrees Celsius heat. So if you've got a lightning storm for all that electricity, extreme amount of electricity, imagine how much electricity you're going to have to heat up on like 1,000 storms or something, more than that, maybe 1 million storms worth of heat. It doesn't really add up to me. I mean, you can't, using electricity like that to generate heat is not a good way of generating heat. You want to do it through friction.
I'm just sharing with you.
Yeah, I don't see any connection with just it's just a bunch of poles on the ground with an electric arc that goes probably maybe 20 feet up in the air. It doesn't go up in the air at first. It's just everywhere, and then it goes up in the air, and eventually the arc goes too distant, and it's just the circuit breaks. It just looks like an electricity fuck up.
Electricity fuck up.
Yeah, just a circuit's formed. Yeah, like when you got a power box, like this happens with like street power boxes, right? So when you got like really light rain, not heavy rain, not no rain, but like light rain, it's the right conditions that an electrical box, power box in the street, can cause an arc, and you'll get an arc for like a few seconds or something, and then it'll just all short out.
Read the comments of that video if you can.
Yeah, all right. So
speaking of which,
one says, "This is a lie. This is not HARP, but high voltage arcing." That pretty much says what I just said. And the other one says, "Not HARP," and this other one, and the third one says, "Jacob's ladder from high voltage switch." Absolutely nothing to do with RF engineering. Clickbait.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, all these comments just pretty much verifying what I just said. Here it says, "This is high voltage switch at power distribution station. This is not high voltage. This is not HARP. High voltage arcs." Yeah. So yeah, pretty much confirmed. They all pretty much every there's like 9 comments. Every comment says.
Yeah, HARP does not send up an electrical charge.
Yeah, I've never heard of the conspiracy theory saying that. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, you can't do that through electricity.
Doesn't work that way. Yeah, so obviously it's no dead end. I'm not saying that weather modification doesn't happen, or even on a large scale, because it does. Like lightning towers are weather modification. The home where I live has lightning towers nearby because of chronic storms that happen from the west. Just to pull the lightning out before it hit the charge out of the air, before it reaches civilized areas. And lightning towers are an example of weather modifications. Many examples, like there are actual chemtrails that are done in the name of weather modification to dissipate storms. So surely, you with the right technology and the right huge resources, you could control the weather on a at least to some degree on a large scale. Maybe you could actually cause a storm. But I've never seen any evidence of this being done on this planet by man-made forces, at least. It's possible, but I've never seen it. And every major storm weather catastrophe, I've never seen any credible link to any kind of man-made source. The worst thing would be the lightning strike of the Mecca Mosque, and that's probably more likely to be an act of God.
I'm just listening. I swear to you, I can listen to you all day. It's funny, but why? Speaking of act of God versus man-made disasters, blah blah blah. Taryn, can I actually get your input on what 9/11 was about?
Yeah, sure. So what I say is, I say with Q, I say Q is irrelevant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I say with 9/11, whether Muslims did this or not is in fact irrelevant. And I'll say the same thing with the Brenton Tarrant New Zealand shooting. It's irrelevant whether it happened or not, because people say whether it happened or not. That's not whether it actually happened or not is irrelevant. So in 9/11, the idea is, let's talk about Muslims and we'll talk about the US government. So we're going to blame Muslims or we're going to blame the US government. Or we're going to blame the Jews even, right? This is with three different people. Okay, we'll start with Muslims. Whether Muslims did this or not. Are Muslims conspiring to do this, and do they have the means to do this? Yes and yes. So whether they have done it or not, they are plotting to do it. And they have been doing this kind of crap for a long time. They have been hijacking planes and destroying planes. I can show you footage of them doing it because I've got videos of this stuff. So yes, Muslims are, whether they have done it yet, they are plotting to do it. That's what's important to prevent this from happening again.
Right.
So Muslims are indeed plotting to do this, and they are doing far worse mostly in the Middle East, but they're doing this in other countries around the world. All these 34,000 terrorist attacks since 9/11. Go to thereligionofpeace.com. It's got a list, an active list that update every week. 34,000 terrorist attacks all over the world since 9/11. They're doing far worse than 9/11. So Muslims are doing these conspiracies, whether they were involved in this one or not. They are involved in far worse. So the question is, are Muslims that evil that they're going to do this and they're plotting to do this? That's what the point is here. Yes, they are, and this is already well established, whether they did 9/11 or not. So it's irrelevant whether Muslims did it. So that's Muslims sorted out. So let's say the US government, right? Let's say, is the US government that corrupt and that conspiratorial that they would mass murder thousands of their own citizens in order to justify a grasp at political power and globalism and stuff? And this is actually more tied to globalism than the actual US government. So this argument for US government or globalist are globalists in the US government capable and willing to do this? Well, they have done this before. You want a reference point? MK Ultra. This is all confirmed.
Oh yeah.
So whether the US government did it, are there people in the US government, globalists, evil globalists who have taken over parts of the US government? Is there not a war over the... Look, Donald Trump got elected. All this Hillary and Trump shit is all revolving around this very real conspiracy that everyone knows is real by now. So are there conspiratorial forces within the US government who are capable and willing to do this, or worse? Yes, and it's already proven. So whether the US government did it or not, are there people in the US government plotting to do this? Are they actually doing this? Do they have a history of doing this? And are they going to do worse in the future? Yes, 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 and yes. So whether the US government did it, the argument behind it that matters is in fact true. So Muslims are plotting this shit. There are globalists within the US government who are definitely plotting and doing this shit. So let's talk about Jews. Well, the whole Jew argument is just like Jews and Muslims are pretty much the same people pretending to be a different ideology. They're really the same people. Jews aren't a real race. They're not a real people. They're a pretend race. They're just people who have abandoned their heritage and just imagine they're the fake chosen people that are mentioned in prophecies. So when what's his name? Mad Max dude. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about.
He was Australian. I can't remember. Braveheart. He's in Braveheart. What is it? Mel Gibson. So Mel Gibson got involved by saying the Jews are responsible for all the wars in history, and he got drunk and said that. Well, they forced him to apologise and that. But look, he meant what he said, and he may have been drunk, but he was being honest. He was saying what a lot of people already know, and he just got drunk and he just felt like saying what's on everyone's mind. These people these fake racist people who, there's black Jews, there's brown Jews, there's white Jews, there's Asian Jews. Apparently they're all the same race. Apparently the white race doesn't exist. It's just a social construct that anyone who identifies as white is a racist. Right. Or see, let's fight racists by killing all the white people. Let's be right. Yeah, it's bullshit. So apparently the white race doesn't exist, but Jews are a race, despite the fact that they're all colours. Apparently Jews are the only race, and they're the truth. It's all just bullshit. So these are just people. They're traitors and saboteurs. If you look at, I'll show you that. If you're able to read this, I'll just give you a definition of the etymology of the very word Jew. They're liars, thieves, and con artists. That's what the word Jew means, where it comes from, and it comes from that word for a reason. I'll just give it definitions. Jew.
So here we go. Load up. Just to give you an example of what the word Jew, where it comes from. Just only 200 years ago. So if you look at the Bible, the King James Version is supposed to be like from 400 years ago. It mentions the word Jew. Well, the word Jew was created 200 years ago. So clearly the Bible has been edited. And that's so the Jews have imposed themselves as a fake chosen people. The Bible's being rewritten. The history is being repeatedly rewritten to insert these people as something they're not. There's a rabbit hole there that there's a lot to talk about there. So these people who identify as Jews, these are traitors, saboteurs,
exploiters, con artists, evil pieces of shit who pretend to be someone they're not, and they're traitors to their own kind. These are the people, and they come from all walks of life, some more than others, and they are in fact responsible for at least most of the wars in history, such as World War II. Now, these so-called what is the one thing you're not allowed to question? You're allowed to question absolutely everything. You're allowed to even promote pedophilia these days, but you're not allowed to question the Holocaust, or the Holocaust. I'll give you an image of this. Look what happens. Look what happens. I'll just find. So this Nazi grandma who went on the run to avoid jail for Holocaust denial has been caught in Germany. So this old woman in like 80s or 90s or whatever has just simply denied. She refused to accept the Holocaust narrative, and governments around the world chased her across the world and caught her in Germany for simply not going along with the narrative.
Wow,
is that not a big warning sign? When governments go completely nuts over something like this, and they try to shut someone down and like this, that's exactly what you need to be questioning. That's the thing you need to be questioning. The one thing you're not allowed to talk about is the Holocaust. You're not allowed to deny it. If someone actually has a legitimate argument, like what I do, I encourage people to debate me over it. I'll put money on the table to prove me wrong because I'm confident in what I'm saying.
So people who are maintaining what they know is a lie, they want to shut you up and they want to intimidate anyone for not talking. They want to maintain the narrative by oppression. And when the government tries to shut someone up, that's exactly what you need to be listening to. So the Jews, these people who call themselves the Jews, they have been responsible for all kinds of evil around the world. These are the people who are responsible for the revival of Islam. As Brenton Tarrant said, that Islam is not the main enemy here. It's these globalists who identify as Jews. These are the people behind. They're just using Islam as a proxy to attack and genocide the West in their evil schemes, their plots. They're not these Muslims are just a puppet. If Muslims aren't being funded through these Jews, they'll just go back into the Stone Age and they won't be able to cause any harm to anyone. But this evil Islam is being funneled resources by the Jews, and they're being used as a proxy, as one of several proxies to attack and destroy Western civilization. So the Jews are in fact responsible for all kinds of evil in the world, which accounts for most wars, including the greatest war in history, World War II.
A spider in the woodshed somewhere, because our own U.S. government has been caught supposedly funding, as well as providing ammunition and weapons to ISIS. So somewhere over here.
Now, don't blame the whole U.S. government. What you can do is understand that there are parts of the U.S. government who have been entrenched corruption of evil globalists, and there's a big battle in the U.S. There's a big battle all over the world. This corruption comes from forests. So basically, when you have non-white people in government, 90-something% of the time, they are corrupt, evil globalists who have infiltrated the U.S. government to serve their own people's agenda in the genocide of white people. They're trying to sabotage and destroy white people. In most cases, non-white people in the U.S. government have an anti-white agenda. But not always, but almost always.
Wow.
And this also includes other white people. Some of them who don't even identify as Jews. I'll give you a video right now, an example of this shit. I've got so much shit in this you wouldn't believe. You'll be horrified. I can show you shit of Obama talking shit. I'll get that too. Obama behind closed doors. Just give me a second. I'll give you that.
I hated that man. I couldn't stand that man.
Right.
Is it Barack Obama? Where's the next one?
See, we know about a video that's been released about him standing up in front of the Kenyan people saying, well, I was the first sitting United States president that was from Kenya. Well, our United States Constitution says that someone from out of the United States themselves cannot be the sitting president. So therefore, he already has committed a treasonous act against my own people.
I just gave you 4 of my own videos on just one of my spare channels. It just shows how much shit I've got here. So there's just 4 examples. And the first one's Barack Obama. Just listen to what he says in that video. I mean, imagine if Donald Trump said this shit.
I'm gonna 2 minutes 24 seconds.
How long does it go for? 2 minutes 25. Yeah, 24. This is actually an excerpt of a long documentary I made. This is just an excerpt.
Yeah, you guys can't hear that, can you?
I can't hear it now.
I don't think. Hang on. No, you guys.
I'll be back in a sec while you watch it. I'll go get an ice cream sandwich.
Okay, yeah, do that. Are you watching that thing?
Not yet. I'm saving them.
All right.
Ooh.
Taryn, it's really hard, buddy, to hear that video with the music in the background.
It's, as I said, it's part of a movie. It's an excerpt from it.
Okay.
It's clear enough for me, anyway.
Right, I mean, I can hear it.
Listen to the other 3. They only go for a few seconds, so it's worth watching. I've got compilations.
I gotta find out.
I've got compilations of this and more as well. That's why I've just got them separate there. I'll just tell you guys, usually when I go into Discord or any voice conversation, I'll automatically record, and if anyone wants the recording, I'll keep it. Otherwise, I'll just delete it. So in case you wanted it, I decided to pre-record when I went in case you want it. If you don't want it, I'll just delete it. But if you want it, I can save it.
Tell you what, there's been conversation that we've discussed throughout the evening.
I assume that you probably want it.
I mean, it would make an absolutely great podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
I generally, not always, but unless there's something sensitive being talked about, I won't record. Otherwise, I usually think, I used to documenting things anyway. I've worked in the intelligence community for like 20 years, so this is what surveillance and shit is what I do. So, if I see any reason to record something, I'll record it. And if I don't need it, I just won't save it.
Right.
So I thought in advance you might want me to do a recording because we're going to have a long talk here. So I thought, all right, I'll record it, and if you want it, and you might want it, I'll tell you later on if you want it. I'll give it to you. So.
Ah, okay.
Some people get suspicious that I record some. I don't record everything, but people get suspicious that I record so much. But quite frankly, I encourage everyone to record anything else, unless I'm saying something really personal that can really put me. I'm innocent, but it can put my personal information in danger or something. That's a different story. But otherwise than that, I'm not doing nothing wrong. And anyway, I can encourage everyone to record everything I say. All right, I've got nothing to hide. It's people who are doing evil shit. They've got something to hide. They're the ones who are complaining about this stuff. People should be recording everything, especially when it comes to government officials and police.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, just for your own safety. If you have any reason to have any concern for your safety, record.
Right.
It's not wrong. It's a good thing.
It's not a bad thing.
Jewish Zionist plays a leading role in white genocide. I'm down with that video, and it's...
Dude, don't drown yourself out in too much. I don't want to drown into. There's so much shit. I don't want to get off topics. There's so many topics to deal with. So much evidence and shit.
Wow, Bob Carr out of Zionism?
Yeah, it's all everywhere, man. This is in every corner. So when I say all this stuff about Brenton Tarrant and saying all this evidence, like, it's like someone who's like drowning in the ocean saying, "I've never seen water in my life." That's how much evidence there is. They're drowning in the very ocean, complaining that they've never seen water. They're complaining they're dehydrated and they've never seen water in their life while they're drowning in the middle of the ocean.
Alright, Taryn, you're killing me with that fucking ice cream. I can hear it.
Sorry.
And you're making me...
I finished it.
Let me hear this. Alright, I gotta get a bowl of ice cream. You guys do your thing.
I tell you, man, that's,
I wonder what else.
Good old ice cream. I haven't had any ice cream in a while.
What else have I got on that channel? I haven't looked at my videos on that channel for ages. I've got a lot of really cool shit on it. Stuff I forgot I uploaded.
Goodness gracious. I gotta show you a picture of my little sweet one that I've got here at my home. She's only 4 months old.
Yeah.
Here she is. I was sitting there. Why don't you take a look at that?
Cool.
See the one in the back?
Yeah.
That's my Timberwolf.
I got on that YouTube channel that I just gave you some. I got a whole bunch of my wild animal pets and stuff that I'll show you. I'll give you an example. Here's one of the videos of my just one of the wild animals. I've saved a lot of wild animals and taken care of them, and they decide they don't want to leave. These are just wild animals. They decide to take care of them. I save them and take care of them. They decide they never want to leave. He's one of them. A wild pigeon I found. I got a whole bunch of wild animal videos that I've taken care of. Here's my Squidgy, the rat that I saved.
Well, he'd rather stay with you, doesn't he? Wow.
What that pigeon used to do was, he wanted to be around me all the time, all day, every day, and he watched me on my computer typing on the keyboards, and what he'd do is he'd jump up on the keyboard and he'd start copying me, he'd start pecking away at all the keys. I've got videos of that too. So he copies me and pecks at the keys. When I had him.
Huh.
I mean, I didn't keep him trapped. I had the doors and windows open and everything. He just didn't want to leave.
Right.
Sometimes he'd go and sit on the tree for a couple of hours and he'd come straight back.
Right.
Completely wild bird.
Huh. Oh, well, that's kind of, I got this wolf, she's only 4 months old, and, I had one before. It was a male.
That's great.
He was solid white.
When someone says, I want some ice cream, scream in their ear, and then they complain. Say, you wanted ice cream? I saw ice cream.
Ice cream for ice cream. Now. Pigeon, it doesn't want to go. What the fuck is that?
Ooh, look at that.
Right? You know I like chocolate ice cream.
You gonna make me go buy some ice cream now.
You told me about all the ice cream you showed me the ice cream you ate when you were watching my movie, or when you did like an all-nighter marathon watching my movie.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, okay. I'm going to show you a hilarious video. Do any of you guys know a game called Perfect Dark? It's like what's called the spiritual sequel to GoldenEye 64 on Nintendo 64. A really good game.
What was it called?
Perfect Dark. So this is like a parody of Perfect Dark, one of the missions. So I sent my pet rat on a mission. Here we go. So I set him on a mission, and what it is, he's just asleep in his bed, just minding his own business, sleep. So I pick him up, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on? You wake me up." So I pick him up, I take him to the lounge room, and I get a big giant cookie. And
retrieve the cookie.
And I give him a big giant cookie, and he's like, he didn't understand for the first few seconds what it is, and he realized what it is, and he's like, giant cookie, I gotta hide it, I gotta grab it, I gotta hide it, what am I gonna do with it? He's just woken up, he's like, what the So it's like I set him on a mission, I do like all the graphics from the game and everything in it. And then what does he do? He just takes it back to bed. He takes the cookie back to bed. Straight to bed.
That's what it says. So this is your rat?
This is mouse. Yeah, this rat. was my pet rat. I that was when I had two. It's not my first rat. The first rat I actually saved from the garden.
You show him the cookie. Okay, guys.
And watch how he reacts. Watch what he do. Watch how he ends up though. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what to do with it, and he ends up taking it to bed. And watch the end. Watch the very end. Because he gets like a mission score. Read the mission score.
Fucking Benny Hill pit lane.
Yeah. Could you notice it's Benny Hill?
Oh, he wants to hide it. Oh, there you go.
You read the missing complete statement?
That's funny.
New cheat available.
Still from fridge.
That's funny shit.
It's funny because he's half asleep. He doesn't know what I'm waking him up for, and they give him a cookie, and he's like, it's like when you get a dog, your dog's asleep, and you put like a steak up to its nose, and then he suddenly just instantly wakes up in shock about this yummy steak. But you do this with a pet rat. His instinct is that he's got this giant cookie like out of nowhere, and he's like, okay, I need to stash this. I need to quickly stash this somewhere. And he's like half asleep, half awake, in shock, like with his cookie. What am I going to do with it? Because with rats, they have a tendency to stash. When you give them the food, they want to stash it somewhere.
Right.
And in the end, all he can do is he just puts it back in his bed and goes straight back to bed.
That's funny. How long have you had your rats, Terry?
I don't have them in no more. That was like a few years ago, or maybe 2013, I think, when he died, when the last one died. Yeah. He was the last one I had.
Yeah, my wolf decided to
check out, bro.
Come in the house.
I hear some internal beeps.
I'll
show you a picture of Squidgy, my first rat. Where's pets? Oh, so it should be under pets. There we go. No, it's not in that folder. What's going on?
Obama. There's this one where it's like I'm trying to find it. Obama jokes about being.
Was that the time he stood up in front of everybody and said that America was built by Muslims.
Apparently Muslims were the first people in Australia too.
Yeah.
And apparently Muhammad invented
when he
the
said
toothbrush.
that, it was like, you've got to be kidding. He didn't just say that.
Apparently Muhammad invented the toothbrush.
Okay.
Where the fuck is the one?
Yeah, I can't find my squidgy photo. Oh, I'm gonna have to I can get it from Facebook as long as good my account hasn't been deleted. I'm banned from Facebook. My account at least hasn't been deleted through all this sequential bans.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. Rat with a mouse. That's a good one. Now, where is it? What I'm looking for? Be into albums. I don't know where the original copy is. Where is it? Pets, I think it is. Pets, there we go. Yeah, it's the photo I'm looking for. I didn't know where it was, so I have to get a copy on Facebook. I'll send two pictures of. This is my first rat, the one that I saved from the garden, from a cat, and he got attacked by people. And a cat was after him. He'd given up on life. He was about to die. The cat was going to get him, surrounded by people laughing at him. And I dealt with a whole fucking lot of them and saved him. And he realised straight away that I was saving him from them all. And I got a container and he walked straight into the container for me. And then I hand fed him and everything. And he never left my side to the day he died.
Wow.
You see a rat with a mouse? A rat with a computer mouse. I named him Squidgy. In fact,
what?
I got some funny pictures of him I just found. Here we go. Here's his little mansion I made for him. I made him a mansion out of cardboard boxes and stuff.
While you're doing that, I'm like looking up a video here. You may be able to archive it, Taryn.
I got a picture here of when I had someone who stayed on my lounge for the night, and Squidgy got out. She must have went into the bathroom where I keep him in a section of the bathroom. I kept him, not always, sometimes I did. So he was in the bathroom so that she wouldn't accidentally step on him. So she's opened the door, left the door open, he's got out, and then I come up in the morning and she's sound asleep, and he's like, she's got a tissue box near her head, and there's a tissue box, and he's trying to wake her up. So what he's doing, he's crawling up onto her head, jumping off her head onto the tissue box, and then crawling back on her head and doing just jump into the tissue box off her head over and over to wake her up. He's obviously all hypo, and he's happy that I've got a visitor, and so he's just trying to play, and he's just jumping on, crawling up on the head and jumping onto the tissue box over and over.
He was having a good time, wasn't
he? Yeah. In fact, I'll give you another picture of him. This is like I think it's like a couple of days after I got him. This is how much he trusted me, that he knew that I was taking care of him. He fell asleep upside down in my hand like that.
Oh, wow.
This is a rat that I saved from the garden, and I saved his life and hand fed him. He knew exactly that I was taking care of him. He was that grateful that I took him in, and he never left my side. He got very attached to me.
Wow, dude.
It was like a couple of days after I found him. He trusted me that much.
Where'd you steal him from?
I didn't steal him. I saved him from the garden. What happened was he's apparently he might have been someone's pet at one stage, but he'd been in the wild for a few months, and other people had seen him in the gardens and stuff for months, and he's starving, and he was in a really bad way. He's somehow just barely surviving for months, and so one day
neighbours from over the fence found him. They tried to kill him, and they ended up grabbing him, and they threw him over the fence into my unit complex, and injured him in the process. And then a cat's chased him, and then all these asshole neighbours were laughing at this cat, trying to set the cat onto this rat, and the rat's eventually found a very small bush in the open, surrounded on all sides, surrounded by this cat, and all these neighbours laughing and egging this cat on to eat this rat. And I fucking got rid of him. I sorted the whole fucking lot of them out, and I saved him.
Great.
Low life pieces of shit.
I hear you.
That's one thing that me and Steven both got really, really deep compassion for, and that's animals. Animals and kids. Don't fuck with our animals and don't fuck with our kids.
Yeah, Karen, I actually have a deer right now.
A deer? Yeah?
Yeah. And he loves, we have a bunch of ducks, okay? And he stays in a pen with the duck. And he has an enclosure that he can get into if it's raining or whatever. And he loves to go in there into his enclosure, and he locks the door with his horn.
Well, you know that Cookie Mission rat, the brown one,
yeah,
the dark one. He used to use the toilet. He used to go to the toilet. He used to climb up and go to the toilet in the toilet. As much as he possibly. Every time the door was open, when he went to the toilet, he would go into the toilet in the toilet. He'd climb up and sit on the toilet and go in. He did it all by. I didn't teach him. He did it all by himself. In fact, that first rat, the white one, the Squidgy, he used to watch me on a computer, and what he would do, he'd have a go. Because he was with me, or he wouldn't leave my side. He with me at all times. He would sleep in my pocket all the time. So he would watch me on the computer, and he wanted to have a go. So he'd go jump up on the keyboard, and he'd deliberately walk around smacking the keys with his hands, pressing random keys, and then at the end, when he's done, he would jump on enter, because he knew that I pressed the big one at the end. So he'd go around pressing random keys and then jump on enter. So I'd be typing to someone, and all this scribble would come out, and say, "Sorry, Squidge is jumping on my keyboard again."
Always fun in hell.
And he loved rum, as you can see in the can over there. He figured out how to open rum. So if I had a can of rum on the table, he'd crack it open, tip it over, and start drinking out of the can. He learned how to crack open a can of rum.
Rats are really smart, huh, Taryn?
Yeah, especially for their size, you wouldn't think so, but they are quite smart, and they're actually very loyal too.
Admits it.
They totally adore people. They totally worship people.
Oh, no shit.
I mean, if you go look up pet rat videos, I'll see if I can find one just to give you an example. There.
You know what? They had to have scrubbed YouTube for that video I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not fucking here. It's where Obama says, "I'm the first sitting United States president from Kenya." Oh yeah, that video's gone, dude.
I'm surprised. So,
Taryn, there's a video I would like you to help me track down. Okay?
Yeah.
It is. I'm serious. I have scoured the fucking web for it, and I cannot find it anymore. It is by a woman by the name of J.Z. Knight. And the video pertains to her channeling an entity called Ramtha, R-A-M-A-T-H, Ramtha.
I obviously don't look up that stuff, so I wouldn't know.
I got you. R-A-M-T-H-A, Ramtha. She supposedly channeled, this entity that described the creation process of pyramids that we know them. That video since has been fucking gone from YouTube. I mean, it's like you cannot find it anywhere.
So there's so much like censorship and like burning of the books of history or everything that's going on the internet. This is the burning of the books, basically. This censorship is extreme, and People who do this need to be dealt with appropriately with zero tolerance, extreme reaction, zero tolerance. This is destruction of civilization and history.
You're come almost like the Library of Alexandria being burnt.
I can't find these old pet rat videos.
You're looking for pet rat videos. I'm trying to find.
There was some really good ones a while back. I just can't remember where they
were. The thing about Ramtha here. I'll show it to you.
I'll see if I can maybe use a filter.
Steven, are you enjoying this conversation, bro?
Oh yeah.
All right, I figured. I know you.
Maybe these videos I'm thinking of, the channel's probably been taken down or something. Pretty sure it has been.
Well, I'm looking for a certain picture, and I can't. Anytime that I look for something that I want, I can't find it.
Yeah, don't you hate that? Where the hell you made it?
Oh Lord, here they come. It sounds like a dead-gum train coming through my house. Oh!
What is it?
Slow down, girl.
What the hell is that?
Okay.
I'm gonna have to get her a good playmate because she's got way too much energy.
Let's see what's got here.
I gotta get her some more deer meat.
Mm-hmm. Guys, I'm trying to figure out where the hell this video went to.
What are you looking for? Which one?
I'm looking for that Obama States I'm from Kenya video.
Oh.
Do you guys know the two-door riddle? Like, one of them tells the truth, one of them's lying. You got to work out which door it is.
Yeah, a lot like the floor of the.
Yeah, there's the two-door riddle, and I've never met a single person who's ever figured it out. So I did a video, and I explained in the description of the video.
Okay.
I explained my description. That's a link to the video. So, answer: they are both lying.
Oh.
While the hypothetical riddle itself is true, the situation is not what it appears. The truth is, they are both lying. They both agree that one of them always lies and one always tells the truth. If one always lies and one always tells the truth, then they both can't agree on that very claim. The fact that they agree on that claim means that they are both lying.
Oh my God, is this movie from The Labyrinth? Bro?
Yes. Despite solving the hypothetical riddle, both are lying and she still falls into the hole anyway. The moral of the story: the riddle itself is true, only so long as the assumption itself that one always lies and one always tells the truth is itself true. But how can you know that such a claim itself is true? Both doormen themselves prove the very claim false. The riddle is true, the foundation is false. Therefore, the argument is false, even if the result turns out to be true. Never met a single person who ever figured that out. So I decided to do a video on it. So do you get the trick? It's defined at the very start.
Yeah.
The fact that they both agree on the original premise that one always tells the truth and one always lies. For them both to agree, the only way they can both agree is if they are both lying. Because if they are both telling the truth, then they can't agree because one of them has to lie. They can't agree on it.
Right.
So the only solution is that they are both lying. It's the only way they can answer the same. It's the only way they can agree. There's a lesson to be learned in that too, because people will start they will assume something, and then they'll build on that assumption, and they'll never question a stage earlier that they've gone wrong, a step in their argument. They will They will assume something and take a shortcut, and they won't even know they've done it, and they'll never go back and review it. They'll insist on, they'll be so focused on this part of the argument is definitely true, but they won't realize that it's based on something beforehand that changes the whole context of the situation. So in the context that they think it is true in that context, but the thing that happened before in the argument defines it as something that will always be false. It's a logical argument that I've never met anyone who figured it out.
It's the false positive statement.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as important because the fact that no one gets it shows how common and frail the human psyche, logical capacity is. That humans are really not as evolved as they think they are, and they're not as reasonable as they think they are. They've still got a long way to go.
Hey, Stephen, I stunned Jeremy by showing him that, hey, I was doing research on your video and found out that, okay, well, yeah, you got implants, right? And them implants couldn't have got where they are.
No, you didn't stun me.
They started there from the beginning.
No, you didn't stun me. I said you're the only one who figured that out. I didn't mention it, but I was hoping that someone would work that out. And you're the only one who ever worked that out.
Mm.
And you actually made the apple analogy. I'm very familiar with that analogy because this is like magicians play the same. Like how did this get inside the bottle and something? You know that. This is a metaphor. It's a riddle that I'm very familiar with, and
right.
You know, but it goes over people's heads. So I deliberately lay it right in front of them without telling them, hoping that someone will figure it out. And you're the only one that ever did.
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's right there.
Yes, it's right in front of you, but no one figures it out. So consider this an example that I put Easter eggs right in front of people's faces that they don't see. I do this all the time. I put Easter eggs of rabbit holes and information right in front of people when they don't see it, hoping that someone will figure this or that out.
It's funny you say you do that because me and Stephen both do that very same thing.
What's that?
We share information with people that is like right in front of them, their faces, and they can't fucking see what's right in front of them. They don't understand what they're looking at.
You want to see another Easter egg? You know my game, the Matrix Code Shooter?
I gotta play that. I haven't done it yet.
You've seen what it looks like though, right?
Yeah.
So if you take that Matrix code and you find a way to decode it, it actually has a message. So the Matrix code, it's a combination of English mixed in with Korean, with just jumbled up a bit. But if you actually find the font and you decode that font, it's actually written in a hidden message. But I don't expect anyone to ever reveal that ever message. But if someone ever does, I congratulate you on it.
Hang on, I'm debating here for a second with JC.
I thought he was asleep.
No, he's awake.
Making fart noises. That video with the 710 part of that video where I do the replay with the censorship sounds and the way everyone reacts is so hilarious. It's like, was that sound what I thought it was? And just the way everyone reacted. Look, I'll play my soundboard right now, so if you can hear it. I'll just play some sound effects, if you can hear it.
Oh, the farts, yeah, the fart sounds.
This is my soundboard, if you can hear it.
Was that Melissa?
No, that was not Melissa farting.
No, I thought I heard her laugh in the background.
No. I got a question. Can you guys hear can you guys hear this? Listen.
I can't.
Okay, so you guys could not hear that?
No, I couldn't hear anything. I don't know how I've got my audio set up so you can hear it. I didn't set it up like that, but it's somehow working. I'm not going to touch it if it's working.
It's split audio. You got it. It's configured in there to to do feedback as split audio.
Oh.
Taryn.
Yeah.
I gotta use a splitter. I gotta run, my input output into my mic input to where you can hear the desktop audio as well as, you know what I'm saying? It feeds it back feeds it is what it does.
Yeah, you can use Voicemeeter to select 2 recording devices at the same time as a third-party program to do that as well. It's a pain in the ass to do. I had to actually make batch files to do open and close all kinds of shit. Now I had to use a hack on top of that, a Windows hack, to make it work as well. It was a pain in the ass to set up.
Are you shitting me?
No, just because of all the audio shit that I was doing last year with Discord and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But anyway, I just gave you some example of my soundboard. My soundboard has that particular soundboard at least has like 1,000 sound effects on it.
Oh man.
Access verbal communication frequency. Objective assimilated.
I take it you're a music lover, Jeremy?
Yeah, I grew up around music. I play the keyboard and yeah. I'll show you something. You're gonna love this. I'll show you on my game. Whoop! Is my sound working? Or my mic just wrecked up? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, my mic it's just that the wiring on my mic keeps messing up. Alright, so I'm going to show you something if you want to listen to something. My game that we referred to before, I made a medley on one of the boss forms. So when you fight the boss battle, there's a huge long boss battle and it goes through several forms and all kinds of shit. So in one of the forms, I did a 15-minute medley. This boss battle is supposed to be like totally overkill, right? So in the final boss form, I do a medley of some pretty interesting music. So I'll just put it on, just gotta find it. Game music. Alright, here we go. I'll send it.
Now you see why I'm addicted to Taryn there, Steven.
Did you listen to that medley?
He's just a fucking all-around cool dude. Yeah, it's cool as fuck.
It's pretty long.
It's 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 15 minutes long.
Is this not the most awesome boss battle game music ever?
Very
when you play a game for 100 hours and you're fighting like a giant monster the size of a planet who destroys universes and shit. This is some Dr. Manhattan shit right there.
It's Tektronix, man. I like it. It's all right. I'm not really into Tektronix music. I'm a drummer, so I like to do a lot of. I'm a heavy metal player, dude. I like to play heavy metal shit.
So I'm still recording. So what I could do is I could play that music and put the volume down if you want, if you don't mind.
No, do it. You talking about the boss battle? Yeah, it's fine, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I like it. I like that.
Put the volume down so we can hear us talk at the same time.
Yeah, I like that.
No, just keep listening. It gets better and better. And if you notice, at the end, there's a compilation of previous songs compiled at the later stages of the final stretch of the song. If you can pick it up.
Taryn, one of these days, whenever you've got the time and Steven's got the time, he is part of the Masonic Order. He knows all about. He's a 33rd degree Mason.
No, 32nd.
32nd degree Mason. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm trying to give you more credit where credit wouldn't due. You don't even want.
Yep.
You're like, what the fuck?
Well,
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I kind of got into it back in the late 80s, mainly at my father's behest. And they promptly kicked me out later.
They promptly kicked you out?
Yeah.
I've heard this story a time.
I kind of they didn't like something that I did, so Yeah, and I didn't really care that they didn't like it, so yeah. But I went ahead and went through the whole thing. I went through Scottish Rite, Royal Arch, and the Shriner, just to see what it was, what all they would say, you know. And just like everything else, they don't back up what they preach.
Are you hearing that music also in the background, Stephen? Can you hear that?
Yeah. I like that. I could definitely game to that. Yeah. Oh, I'm all there.
I think Taryn put the sequel. It's a sequel, isn't it, Taryn? Didn't you put them together?
No, it's a medley.
Or is that just the front?
It's a medley.
The medley, okay. Right, a medley.
Different bits of different songs.
Yeah, I could definitely game to that, man. That would suit me just fine.
Fellas, I myself am going to jump off of here. I'm going to get geared up to do a video conference with Sarah. She's going to learn OBS.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to teach her how to string.
Alright.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave you guys and get over with her and see how well she's going to learn this.
Yep, and I'll let this song play out. When it's finished, I'll stop recording and I'll give you the...
Alright, well, I'm getting kind of wore out myself, so I was going to jump off here at about the same time, Taryn, if you don't mind.
Thanks for the chat, mate.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, Taryn. I would love to talk to you. Huh?
If you've got any questions about anything, I'm as available as much as possible, and Matt will be able to help you get to be able to find the narrative version of my story.
Okay, alright. Hey, that would be fantastic. I would love it.
Okay, fellas. Taryn, I'll holler at you later, buddy. Enjoy, and everybody else. All right, catch you later. See you guys. Bye, Steve.
Bye.